If you're law enforcement, stop and listen to me right now. If you're a police department that does not have an LPR system, Insight is offering the first 10 agencies, that means one agency apiece, gets one camera for free. You have to tell them that Two Cops, One Donut sent you. You heard me right. If you're a police agency that does not have an LPR system yet, or does have an LPR system, and you're not happy with the product you have, Insight is offering you a free camera. No strings attached, and they will install it. I have 10 to give out. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you, or reach out to me, and I will get you in contact. If you're a business owner or an HOA, please stop and listen to me right now. If you're just listening to the audio, do yourself a favor and watch the YouTube version of this episode to get a visual of what I'm about to tell you. I want to tell you guys about Insight LPR. It's a license plate reader. If your agency, community, or business is looking to invest in LPR to help solve and deter crime or to make your community safer, Insight LPR has my vote of confidence. I've met with their team. They know their LPRs, guys. They're the real deal. They bring over 75 years of collective experience to building LPR cameras and the software that supports communities across the country. The other thing I really like about this team is how much they listen to law enforcement. They understand the importance of working together with law enforcement and getting their input as they build and innovate products and their service to match the needs of law enforcement. In other words, when I complain or have suggestions to make their damn camera better, they actually do it. The Insight LPR team is extremely passionate and takes pride in their product development, which makes their cameras some of the most durable cameras in the market. For the gear nerds out there, what that means is this stuff's made of military grade aluminum and is nitrogen purged, whatever that means. This design makes the cameras rugged and able to withstand harsh weather elements. Here's the big selling point for me. Their nighttime scan accuracy is higher than most of the leading competitors. In my opinion, this is what sets them apart. As we know, the majority of crimes occur at night, so it's critical to have high scan accuracy at night. Insight's cameras check the box with the nighttime plate read accuracy greater than 96%. 96%, guys. That's pretty freaking high. If your community is looking to invest in LPR technology, reach out to one of their experts today, or reach out to me. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you. Coming up next on Two Cops, One Donut.
I remember when we went out and we literally like pulled this dude out. We let the IA guys do it. They pulled him out of his bed. We took him back to their fob. And, remember the old sun, wind, and dust goggles?
Yeah.
The old ones, like you see like from like Desert Storm and shit?
Yeah.
They take them, they put 100-mile-an-hour tape over them, right?
Right.
So they can't see anything.
Yeah.
And I remember we got back to their fob, and I'm like walking by. We had an MI guy on our team, right? Military intelligence. And I'm like walking by this room, and like they've got two of those guys in there, and I'm like looking in there. No, I'm looking in there, dude, and somebody's got a syringe full of something, dude, 100%. And that MI guy, like he looks at me. He was one of our lieutenants, but he looks at me and he just shuts the door, dude. And I was like, oh, fuck.
All right, welcome back to Cops One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine, and today my guest is the one, the only, the crippled Matthew Brazeal. How's it going, buddy?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm better now that we're sitting here together.
That's good, because I talked so much shit to you.
Yeah.
And when my friends, they're like, oh, I'm sitting there giggling. They're like, who are you talking to? It's like, oh, I'm talking to Brazeal. And they're like, what are you laughing about? I was just like asking him if he had to go any like retraining for stop sticks or anything like that. And they're just like, dude, that's fucking mean. I was like, he gets it. Yeah. He gets it.
Call me speed bump and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, today's episode, for those listening, Matt, I've learned this over time, like let people know up front what the episode's going to be about, because my shit's hella long. So they're like, I don't even know what this episode's about.
Oh, yeah.
And they got to wait and filter through it. But
yeah.
This episode is going to be about police officer, Army vet, Army, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Army vet, Matthew Brazeal, and his on-duty incident where he deployed stop sticks and the bad guy decided to not hit the stop sticks but hit Matt instead. And in that, we'll talk about the response and his recovery and his eventual coming back to duty. Correct?
That's right. Yeah.
That's the man. Don't hold it against him that he was in the Army. Not everybody can score very high in the SFAB. So we won't dwell on that too much, buddy. But you brought gifts.
I'm gonna ask you your ASVAB score.
Okay.
See, because I had a high one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think it was 82.
I got an 85.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Good for you.
120 GT.
Nice.
They say, not to cut you off, but they
You're
say,
fine.
you know, like I joined the infantry, right? And they say that collectively the infantry has some of the highest scores that there are. No, I don't know why. I don't know the science behind it. But
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, when people don't think about SEAL team, they think they hear the word SEAL team, they're like elite operators, right? But they don't know that their IQ is just off the charts.
Yeah.
They're borderline genius, a lot of them. And unassuming.
And the term for infantryman is a grunt, right? So it's kind of like
very caveman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say that with my buddy who I graduated high school with. He lived down the street from me. He is an airborne ranger. Is that what they're called? Yeah. Airborne ranger.
Mm-hmm.
He got this for me while he was stationed in Germany. It's a piece of the Berlin Wall.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Cool little gift from him. For a while, I had one of my newer uniforms, and I would keep his battalion or whatever his companies, because I think there's different.
Well, there's Ranger Regiment.
Yeah, there's a 82nd of 101st. Right?
Well, but those aren't Ranger. If he was in, he could be a Ranger but not be in regiment. Which means he would have gone to Ranger school. He's still a Ranger, but like most of our lieutenants and stuff, like an officer, you would expect them to come to your unit with a Ranger tab already, because typically they go to OCS and go through Ranger school, and then go through Ranger school and then come to the unit.
Right.
But yeah,
I'm just checking my cameras. Yeah, okay, everything's recording. Yeah, he was airborne infantry to start, but he did get the Ranger tab.
Yeah.
So he's got that. He's an E9. He made it all the way.
Sergeant Major.
Yeah. So he made it all the way up. He's been blown up several times, shot a couple times.
Yeah.
He's a fucking badass.
Yeah.
And it's funny because our military careers are so polar opposite. You know, he's always giving each other shit and whatnot. Eric Paz, shout out to him. Eventually I'll get him on here. But the dude is like the fucking American hero dream, you know?
Captain America.
Yeah, right. I mean, grew up Hispanic kid on the block. We didn't have any of those in Flint. Like, he's the only Hispanic dude I remembered, really. Maybe one other guy, Henry Morales. Yeah. Grandma, 100%. Like, that's the only time I ever tasted true Mexican food. And not Hispanic food, Mexican food. Like, she was very clear.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And, you know,
no Tex-Mex.
No. So, and that's in Michigan. So it was very rare to find, at least where I was at the time. And, you know, I remember the kid. He's lucky he didn't get in trouble with the law growing up. Like, he was pretty close. Then he joins the Army. That was his way out. He got out of Flint. And just went for it. I mean, he went as hard as you could and did it all. He was a grunt. I guess, does that still count as a grunt if you're airborne?
Oh yeah,
that's still infantry, right?
Yeah, but they call. So if you're not airborne, they call the rest of us legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because you're on the ground.
Yeah. So they call you a dirty leg, or you're a leg. Yeah.
That makes sense. I've heard those terms before. I didn't understand them.
You see some guys will have their airborne wings, but they'll never do any jumps other than in jump school,
right?
Or training jumps.
Yes.
So
he has combat jumps.
Yeah, so
which is rare. From what I understand.
Yeah, he will have probably what you'll see on his uniform, his airborne wings, and then he'll have what's called a mustard stain.
Yes, the little star.
Yellow,
Yes, I learned that on Band of Brothers, which I watch twice a year, every year.
Yeah, so that's the exact same unit I was in.
Oh, really?
Yep, Charlie Company,
no
Second
shit.
506.
Okay. Yeah.
Just 60 years later,
Yeah, it was still the history.
Yeah.
I'm sure they beat that into your head.
Curry.
Yeah.
That's right.
So with him, I've asked him probably 6 or 7 times which one it is. And I don't know if it's like 82nd, 101st, whatever.
If he was in Germany.
Well, I mean,
or is that what you're asking?
That's one of the places he's been stationed.
Right.
But I don't know what he is.
Well, so 82nd's at Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And then 101st, like me, that's Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Okay.
So, and then you'll get, I always get the 173rd and 172nd mixed up. I think it's 173rd is in Vicenza, Italy. And then the other one, 172nd, I can't remember which one. But anyway, the other one's in Alaska, and it's a striker unit.
That's definitely not him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I do know he's proud of the history of the unit that he's in. I know it's got a long history, so I'm assuming it's one of the more popular ones.
Did you see they're renaming like 10 military installations?
Yes.
$62 million. Yeah, no.
Jesus. That, you could have saved just $62 million of those dollars from giving it to Ukraine.
Yeah. Or, somebody made the comment of, hey, you could use that money to increase soldiers' living conditions at the bases.
Yeah. Oh, man. That was a big one. I saw that. I don't really politic a whole lot. I don't really consider that politics.
No,
but,
no.
Yeah, the standard of living even in the Air Force area. There was black mold in my, I don't know, your dorm room. Barracks.
Yeah.
And I remember it's all in the corner, so I'd be taking a shower, just looking up.
You're scared of it. You're like, don't touch me.
It's just growing.
Keep back.
I was sick, probably not like sick like you would think, like like that. I just felt like shit.
Yeah.
And you chalk it up to I'm in the military. That's just what it is. But no, I really think it was that mold. I think that was the shit.
It's like now would have been a good time to have been stationed at Camp Lejeune. You see all the commercials.
Yeah.
They send me emails. Hey, were you at Camp Lejeune? I'm like, no, man. Like, leave me alone.
Unfortunately, you're gonna give me 100% disability.
Yeah, right. Well, that's speaking of which. They just signed that PACT Act, right? You know what the PACT Act is?
No idea.
The VA now is you can claim. You heard about like if you're exposed to toxic stuff, right? So that's what the PACT Act is. PACT Act is for. And I don't know if you knew this. I had cancer in 2014.
Right.
And, whenever we're in Iraq, we use these things called warlocks or Duke systems, right? The IED jammers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, like, you would have like a man-sized one that protected like a squad-sized element, right? And it was just kind of like about this big. They'd go on your vest. And then you would have the big, like the round ones that looked like a big fat antenna on the back of the Humvees.
Right.
And I always thought it was so weird because, I was super healthy whenever I had cancer and I took care of myself, all that. And the VA was like, well, no, those jamming systems are not any way related. It is. Oh, they put out radiation, but not enough to hurt you, that kind of thing.
Right.
Well, now that they passed this, and I went and read up on these IED jamming systems, I mean, like we'd be walking around like on a patrol and the IED jammers would set off car alarms just being turned on. The look on your face. Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway, I dug up all the,
I smell burning.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's me.
Yeah. My insides.
Yeah. I'm getting cooked like a Christmas goose, right?
Right.
So, anyway, I looked this stuff up and, looking at what the military says about it, they love to say, well, you're safe. Remember Cark paint?
No.
That's what they painted like all the Humvees and stuff. And like,
matte that.
And you'd see it. It would be written on there in stenciled Cark paint, CARC, right?
Yeah.
Well, they used to say, oh, it doesn't cause cancer. Well, it turns out that now apparently it does cause cancer. Right?
Really? I should not have been licking my Humvee.
Yeah.
God.
So, there's a foundation that I submitted all my stuff to that actually, they really dig into military health issues, right? And what's going on in the military. And they're keeping track of like soldier suicides and things like that. And it's called the Hunter 7 Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of that or not.
I haven't heard of that. I've heard the 10-7 Foundation.
Yeah. So
10-7 Outdoors.
So Hunter 7 Foundation, they're actually doing like a lot of good work and they're digging into all this stuff. So, they had me submit all of my oncology records to them.
Okay.
But since then they've passed the PACT Act. So I'm going to see, like I've requested the VA, they'll say, oh, hey, we'll get your records for you and we'll dig into it. Of course, they haven't done it yet. I keep getting notices saying, hey, if you don't submit your stuff soon, I'm like, you are supposed to do it. You offered.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, so not to get off on a tangent there, but yeah. Okay. So you should check out the Hunter 7 Foundation though, man, because they're like really big into like the health and wellness and stuff of like, current military and then like, foreign vets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, shit.
cool.
I'd love to find out that I was, drinking some sort of radiated water or whatever it was at
at some
bases.
point,
Working in a nuke base, especially, when I was in Malmstrom. We were always talking about that. Tell me how a flight of 92 people, all of us had girls.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
All of I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't like one snuck a boy in.
Yeah.
All of them had girls while we were there. Now, there were some that later on had a boy, but they weren't at that base anymore.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not fucking
that is
crazy.
Strange, yeah. Have you looked up like the statistics on?
I didn't, but I should.
Yeah, like how many, like what your chances are, one in how many of having a girl as opposed to having a boy? Because I bet it's less than 1 in 92. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. It's nuts. And I remember, I get to the flight and there were some people that already were like getting ready to have babies. And the longer you're on the flight, the more often people are having kids.
Yeah.
And so it was our turn. We're getting, it turns out I'm having a girl and my buddy, he's having a girl, like my close buddy. So I'm like, that's weird. And then about a month later, Brandon's having a girl. I'm like, have you noticed that we're all having girls? Like, it's kind of weird. And he's like, and then we start investigating, like, shit, this whole damn flight's had females. Like,
that's weird.
That's insane. So,
yeah.
Well, we're talking way too long to be staring at this Rebecca Creek that you brought in, sir.
Yeah.
Could you explain to me the gifts you have brought?
Yeah. So this is, let's see here. Let me move this. Where can we put it up? So this is Rebecca Creek double barrel. I actually have never had this, so I'll try it together for the first time.
Okay, 57.45%.
Yeah, but I bet you it's smooth.
I bet it is too.
This is a pick from one of the whiskey clubs I'm in, DFWWC, the DFW Whiskey Club. Shout out to them.
Okay.
They do a lot of great things, and believe it or not, they donate a lot to charity. Like
really?
A lot. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Constantly. I mean, everybody, will. There's always somebody in the group that, finds out about something happening that you might normally, not hear about.
Yeah.
Right. So they're constantly running charity raffles and things like that. I mean, it's cool. They really take care, give back to the community. But
well, I would gladly let them sponsor this podcast with just booze. That's all. Just give me a bottle like once a month. It would be good to go.
Well, and they do like these releases, these bottle drops, all the time. And, the guys that run the club are, they've got these, nice extensive palettes where like, I taste this and this.
Yeah. I'm like, it's smooth. It tastes good.
Yeah.
It's about as it's smoky. I'll give you that.
Right.
Okay, so,
yeah.
It's smoky, but yeah.
So these guys, they'll go and they'll travel up to, these different states and they'll go to these distilleries and they'll actually pick out, a barrel for the club or 2 barrels, whatever they can get their hands on.
Okay.
So it's cool, man. So,
all right, bro. Bottle it up. Let's go. I'm drinking out of, look at this cool, what'd you call this again? A Glen glass?
It's a Glencairn.
A Glencairn.
Yeah, but
okay.
You just call them a Glen.
It's got the shredder on it, which is pretty cool. Because I grew up a huge Ninja Turtles fan, by the way. That's why I'm drinking out of that one. So very cool. I've never seen one of those. I've been in a habit lately of saying, very cool. Very cool. How do you know how much to pour into that?
I don't know. This is the first colored Glen I've had.
Oh, normally see-through.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Drink out of these clear ones.
Ooh, it's got a good smell. It didn't make me cough right away, so that's good.
Yeah.
I tell people, I'm like,
syrup.
Yeah, the good ones when you're like,
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, it doesn't actually mean it's going to taste bad, but when the notes hit your fucking nose and you're like,
yeah, the ethanol, the ethanol smell. Yeah. So that's usually, I think they said it's usually from a younger whiskey. If they're aged longer, you don't get that.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Cheers, bro. Salud.
Cheers, man.
All right, let's see. Oh, yeah. 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 Yes, sir. That's a good one. Smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bites a little bit at first.
Oh, man. That's good.
Let it breathe.
Yeah, that's how I always smell it. Like,
I know. I like to give them a couple minutes to open up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, too, if so I'm still, wouldn't consider myself by any means a connoisseur, but I learned over time that if you get these whiskeys or these bourbons that are, it's too harsh. People will take water droppers, right?
Yeah. A lot of times I always use a cube of ice and then I just let it slightly melt and then I start sipping.
Well, you'd be surprised. Like even adding, I've had some that I was like, man, this is just too much for me. You add like 2 drops of water to it, it completely changes it.
Yeah.
The whole profile of it.
I've been to several distilleries, and every single one has recommend using water.
Really?
They said that it opens up what its true flavor, because they said back in the day when they started making this, it was made to last, like they wanted it to last, and it would be concentrated more. But the flavor, it was designed for that water to be added to it to open it up.
Yeah. So you'll get like, I don't even know if this one's you know, a lot of times you'll get them, they're barrel proof, you know, I mean, they just pour them straight from the barrel, but, you know, and that's what people do is they just add water. And they really market limestone water for some reason. Like you can actually buy
something about the minerals.
Man, I don't know.
I don't, if I'm doing all that homework for my whiskey, I'm doing it for the wrong reason.
But you can, they sell it on Amazon, but it's expensive.
Oh,
you know, so like I'll just use some regular filtered water.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the cool ice cubes that my awesome fridge makes.
Yeah, no toilet water or anything.
Right, no Flint water.
Yeah, right. No Lejeune water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh fuck! All right, brother. Let's get into some of the nitty gritty.
All right.
First, where'd you grow up? What was your family life like as far as where you grew up? Did you have a lot of service members, police, first responders in your family? Any of that? What was school like for you growing up? Did you know you were going to be a cop? Let's go down that path.
Okay. So I was born in Fort Worth. We lived kind of in the River Oaks area till I was about, I guess until first grade. And then we moved to, my dad's from West Texas. He's from San Angelo. There's this little bitty town outside San Angelo called Cristoval. And there was actually, remember the show Survivor?
Yeah.
There was some guy that was like huge, like I guess he won Survivor or something. We came from Cristoval, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we know where Cristoval is." You know, other than that, you'd be like, oh, "I have no idea." I can't even remember the guy's name. You know, it's been years now. But anyway, we moved out there, and we were out there from about 1st to 4th grade, and then we moved back here. So we moved to Springtown. Which nobody hold that against me. I always get made fun of.
Good barbecue.
Like, oh, you grew up in Springtown.
Barbecue, right? Or no, that's Spring Creek.
Yeah, you're thinking Spring Creek barbecue.
My bad.
Springtown's, you know,
is
a lot of meth there.
Is it okay? It's a white ghetto.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's got nice areas. You know what I mean? It's not horrible, but it's, you know, which I'll get into that later. But so I grew up in Springtown. We were. I mean, as a kid, like we were pretty poor, you know. I remember, especially when we lived in Cristoval, you know, we lived in a single wide trailer with unpainted walls. You know, they were just ply at your sheetrock.
That makes sense for you.
Yeah,
yeah. Everything's starting to fit. Listen, you guys, Matt and I have the darkest sense of humor with each other. So if it offends you, just know that he gives it back just as much as I give it. It's nothing.
Hadn't started yet.
It's what is it? It's camaraderie through shared adversity. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So, you know, it's no Flint, Michigan, but
yeah, touche.
Yeah. So,
Flintstone people will get you though. They hear this, they'll be like, "Who's that Matt Brazeal guy?"
Let's go down and get him.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we're I mean, pretty poor. Of course, whenever you're a little kid, you don't know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know any different. Yeah. So, my dad stayed in Cristoval at the time, and my mom took us and brought us up here, right? And she's from Weatherford. That's where she grew up. Okay. So, anyway, we came back up here. He ended up, you know, we moved to this little trailer park up in Springtown, and my dad ended up coming back, and you know, they got back together. And then,
how old were you?
Well, this was in 4th grade, so I don't know, 10, 11.
So pretty impressionable age.
Yeah.
I mean, that probably was a big deal for you
at
the time.
Yeah. Well, and I remember my mom just came and checked us out of school one day, you know, and it's like, hey, I've packed y'all's stuff and we're, you know, going back up to the DFW area. Okay. And, you know, I remember one of my friends, he was like my best friend, man. My mom was coming to sign us out of school, and I remember seeing him standing down the hallway, and he was just crying.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like a fucking movie.
Yeah, dude.
Aw.
Yeah. So his name was Aaron Pond.
Oh, shit.
I've got him on Facebook now. But
He's in prison now.
yeah, right. Yeah. All because of that.
All
It's
because
my
of that.
fault.
Yeah, butterfly effect right there. He would have turned out to be,
Yeah. So
ruined him.
right. So we came back up here and we started going to school in Springtown, and my dad ended up moving back up here, and they got back together. And then I was in, I guess 8th grade. Is that about how old you are when you were 14?
Yeah.
Not for you. You were probably about like 18 or so.
Yeah, because my grades are terrible. But my daughter's 13 and she's in 8th grade. So yeah, that makes sense. 13 to 14 is 8th and 9th grade.
So, about that, my parents ended up divorcing at that age,
Okay.
So I was not yet in high school, I was, still in 8th grade, and I acted like I didn't care, but I remember they came home with the divorce papers one day. I locked myself in the bathroom and tried to set them on fire. Yeah, I was like, I don't care. I don't care. Yeah,
right.
Like,
where's your paperwork now? Yeah,
right. So, they split up, and believe it or not, that kind of, when they split up, like, I kind of started going downhill, because
that's not a believe it or not. That's kind of a common theme that usually happens to kids.
Yeah. And my dad was the enforcer, and my mom was, she'd try to make you do whatever you were supposed to do or what she wanted you to do, but you knew, okay, well, I can kind of walk all over you, you know?
Especially at that age, because you're starting to go through puberty and all that stuff. You'd be getting your man genes in. Yeah.
So I went and I lived with my mom. We moved. We still stayed in the Springtown area. And I think by the next year, I was on probation already.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. I'd be out at the lake, picking up trash on the weekends and stuff,
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of went downhill.
Rebelled a little bit.
Yeah. And, from there, I was on probation, I don't know, 3-4 times, and it was kind of a back-to-back thing. I would get off probation, I go back on probation.
Now, was it arson? Was that like your typical?
No.
Okay, I was wondering.
Not arson. It was mostly skipping school.
Oh, okay.
What
do they call that?
Truancy.
Truancy, that's right.
Which is now decriminalized. You know that, right?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not against the law anymore for kids to not go to school.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way we're headed.
Yeah. So anyway, I had this, which I could tell she did care, but I thought she was the meanest lady in the world. Her name was Tammy. And it was at the probation office in Weatherford. I had to go see her, all the time. And then on the weekends I was doing community service, and, I started doing some beer runs. I got caught doing a beer run one night, and
amateur, just get yourself a fake ID like we had.
And we, happened to steal Zimas instead of something good.
Oh, I've got a terrible Zima story for you.
So I was walking out of the store and I had these Zimas stuffed in my pockets, and a kid that I went to school with, he worked at that.
Hey folks, Eric Levine from Two Cops, One Donut. Want something better than Ring, Arlo, Brink, or any of the other quick launch home security systems? I've been having trouble with my Ring products. They don't read license plates on moving vehicles, the link doesn't connect fast enough to my phone, and I'm tired of getting notifications only to see like a glimpse of something that set it off. I was reached by a veteran-owned business called Agent Security. The owner, the staff, all veterans or former cops. They're kind of like the Chick-fil-A of customer service when it comes to security. They have a system that does everything companies like Ring do and more. They have pivoting cameras that track day or night. They can also read license plates and catch high-definition details that will lead police more effectively to catching the offender. Their mission is providing the best home security systems to their customers. All you have to do is start the conversation to protect our most valuable assets, our families. They listen to your needs and come up with perfect customized security solutions to protect what matters to you most. You can contact them by phone at 713-962-3558 or email info@agentsecurity.com or visit their website, agentsecurity.com. That's AGENTSecurity.com. INTSECURITY.com. They serve the greater Houston area, North Texas, and more. Be sure to tell them that Eric Levine from Two Cops, One Donut sent you.
Albertsons, right?
Okay. Oh, he ratted you out.
He snitched on me, yeah.
What a motherfucker. What's his name? We'll call him out right now.
Aaron. I'll say it. I'll remember him now. No, funny, I mean, I guess, kind of in a way, I can kind of thank him. Yeah,
he
right?
helped you. Yeah, let's look at the positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and he stopped you from drinking Zimas.
Yeah. Well, no, we drank them still.
Oh, no, you still got it.
You had to get rid of the evidence.
You got caught later.
So,
okay, so Zima story.
So,
before you get going,
yeah.
My Zima story. We are, I want to say 7th, 8th grade, maybe. My cousin was graduating from high school, and in Michigan, we call them having an open house. Like, you're having an open house for graduation.
It's a party.
It's a party for your
okay.
graduation for high school.
Uh-huh.
And we're up in my cousin's treehouse, and we sneaked down. Now, this was like adult-sized treehouse, basically. It was just a box, but it was big. It was very large. I remember that. His dad went all out on that damn treehouse for the size that it was. I remember that. But,
it's like the one from... is it like the one from The Sandlot?
The Sandlot, yeah, similar. Yeah. So we're up in this beast, and
you ever had an erector set? Or ever had an erection? No, but I hope to get one for Christmas.
So we're up in this thing, and we sneak down, and we go to the garage where there's booze that hadn't been chilled yet. Like, we didn't think about it, but we're just like, that's where the unoccupied booze are at. So we grab, and the thing we grabbed was a 6-pack of Zima. Mm-hmm. It looked the best because it was blue, and clear, and we knew we didn't like the smell of beer. Mm-hmm. And all the girls were drinking the Zima, so we were like, it's got to be somewhat good.
Yeah.
And we get them up there, and we start trying to drink. We just try to drink one, pass it around just to start out. It's disgusting. And it's foamy. Like, every drink is foamy because it's warm.
Yeah.
And so we're like, how are they drinking these? And we see they're dropping Jolly Ranchers in them. So we go grab a bag of Jolly Ranchers, and then we all take one, right? And I'm like, bloop, take a sip. No. Bloop, bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. I put like a half a bag of Jolly Ranchers in them.
It's like the peanuts and the Coke.
Yes. So I'm dropping so many in, it's starting to come over and it makes it foam every time. It's like dropping a Mentos in there. Yeah. So I'm trying to drink the nastiness that's coming off of the top. And you didn't want...
it's good. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. You didn't want to be the guy that wasn't drinking it at the time. So you ended up drinking that, and of course, as a kid, like, just the one, it didn't sit with my stomach. It was warm. It was foamy, and I just all over the place.
Just the one?
Just the one. Yeah. I couldn't.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we ended up drinking like what?
After that, you're like, I'm good, man.
Well, we drank cold, different things, but I think we were drinking, what are those things? Remember those wine coolers? They had like the gold wrapping on the top.
Yeah, Seagrams. I think they were Seagrams.
Yes. Yeah. I think we ended up finding those, or Boone's Farm or something.
And
like
Boone's
that.
Farm, yeah, that was big too. Boone's Farm, yeah. And then I think back in like the parents' days, it was Mad Dog 2020.
2020, yeah. So we drank probably
malt liquor.
Yeah. Cobra.
Mickey's.
Yeah. All the good stuff. All that Flint native stuff.
Speaking of that, you ever played the game Edward 40 Hands?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a common military, rite of passage.
Right. Yeah.
I remember we were told the first sergeant was coming to our party to check on us, and we had like 7 or 8 people there that were underage.
Yeah,
everybody.
Yeah, everybody pretty much.
Yeah, so we're doing that, and my TV just turned my emblem off. That kind of upsets me. I don't know what happened.
Turn it back on.
I'm going to have to figure out how in a second, but I'll finish my story. But, yeah, so we ended up having a good time that night, drinking and throwing up later again, because we were stupid kids. But anyway, let's get back to you. So you did your Zima run. You got busted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was actually, I think it was the next morning or the morning after, I'm asleep in my bed, and my sister comes in my room, and she says, hey, the cops are on the phone and they want to talk to you. And I was like, shut up. She's like, no, really. And I was like, no, shut up. I was like, go away, leave me alone. She's like, okay. And she just set the phone down, and I was like, it was before we had cell phones, it was a cordless phone, and I'm like, I can see the green light on the phone.
So she's like, telling the truth?
Yeah, I know the phone is on. So I pick it up, and I'm like, hello? And they're like, hey, Matt, this is, the Azle Police Department. He said, hey, you're not in any trouble or anything, but we're wondering if you could tell us about this beer run that happened the other night. They're like, we know you didn't do it. Typical cop tactics.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah.
You fell right into it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you were in the area at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. So they knew, in subconsciously, I knew that they knew,
Right.
but it's like, well, what am I going to do? I'm busted,
Right.
might as well
Yeah.
just face the music. Right?
Okay.
So one of my buddies that I had done this beer run with, he was there too. And I said, hey man, I was like, we got to go up to the police department. They want to talk to us. And he's like, I'm not going up there. He hands me the keys to his truck, which I didn't even have a driver's license at the time. Because I couldn't get it because of the probation and missing school and stuff, and I was 16.
Yeah.
And he's like, you go. He said, you can take my truck. He said, I'm not going. So I drove my ass up there and I was like, hello.
I mean, you had sound decision-making skills at that time anyway. So
well, yeah,
that made sense.
And I was like, how can I help you guys? What can I tell you? Let's catch this guy. So, anyway, I get in there and I'm not kidding, man. As soon as I walk in the office and I sit down, they're being all nice. And then it goes from like good cop to bad cop. And they're like, so what do you want to tell us about that beer you stole the other night? And I started crying.
Of course. What other reaction are you going to have at 16?
Like, oh God, I'm done. I'm going to prison. And they're like, you know the way to juvie? And I was like, no,
Yeah.
He's like, don't send me to juvie. So, dude, it was so bad. And they're like, how did you get up here? And I was like, well, I drove. And they're like, but you don't even have a driver's license. They asked for my ID. And I
Oh,
was like,
shit.
yeah. And they're like, so now you drove and you don't have a driver. I'm just digging myself this hole, right? And they end up calling my parents, and my parents are split up, but they both end up showing up there. And it's weird, but I was more scared of my probation officer than I was my parents.
Okay.
She was so mean, she just, I don't know what it was. I mean, she was good at her job.
Apparently.
Yeah. So, she extends my probation for another 6 months, like more community service, more this and that, I continued my school skipping and I can't tell you why. I just had, whenever I was younger than before my parents split up, I had these like, oh, I want to be a fighter pilot. I want to do this or that. Or I go out and play Army.
Yeah, you're the perfect height for sub.
Yeah, right. Thanks. So anyway, I don't want to do the Navy, but
okay.
Anyway,
You seem like a Navy guy, so I say that.
You just wait, man. I'm gonna think of some good stuff to get you going. The Chair Force one is played out a little bit, so anyway, so I continued skipping school. I was actually, and this is kind of where things started to turn for me. I was skipping school one day, and I hear a knock at the door. So I walk up, look through the people. And I see this dude in BDU standing there.
Fucking recruiters. Yeah, back when they used to come door to door. Yep.
And he's standing there, and I'm like, what the fuck does this guy want?
Got your name from a probation officer.
Dude, that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
And I didn't think about this. I literally did not think about this until this year. I was like, how did he know I was home? Because there was no cars in the driveway.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, someone must have tipped him off and been like, hey,
and they didn't go door to door. They went specific addresses.
Yeah.
Because they knew.
It's not like I'd gotten on the internet or filled out a job interest card at, at school or something, And, at this point, I was 18 at this point, I was this, kind of fast forward a little bit, and I answer the door and he's like, hey, what's up, man? And I'm like, nothing. And he's like, you mind if I come in? And I was like, I guess, And,
glad he was actually in the Army.
Yeah, right. Well, if he wasn't, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd probably be in a suitcase somewhere or something. But anyway, so, he comes in and he's like, hey, I'm Staff Sergeant Green, the U.S. Army, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here, like I don't have any interest. I had lost all my interest in this, probably because I was smoking weed all the time.
Okay.
Oh,
you blaming the marijuanas.
Well, I'll tell you, man. I used to, I
You partook.
I partook.
You did. Now, did you do the Obama?
What's that?
Or no? Maybe it was.
Oh, that was a Bill Clinton.
It didn't.
I didn't inhale.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I inhaled it. I just, it was all my buddies did it. I did it with them, and it was, I got extremely paranoid every time, but and they always made fun of me. They're like, "Oh man, like you're freaking out way too much."
But they hadn't been in trouble with the law nearly as much as you. So
no, and yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, I was the only one that. It's almost like I was the one. I was either the worst out of the bunch, or they just didn't get caught. I don't know. You know what I mean?
That's how I was growing up.
Yeah,
I just didn't get caught.
Yeah, it's like, damn man, like, come on, why don't you throw me some of your luck over here?
Yeah.
So
you have to trip on one before you win.
Yeah. So he's talking to me. He's like, so man, he's like, when's the last time you smoked some good green? And I was like, I don't know, like yesterday. Because I was like,
yeah,
what does it matter? I was like, I'm not joining the army.
Yeah.
So the more he talked to me, and I don't know why, and still to this day, like it must have been some divine intervention, man, because I kept listening to what he would tell me. He would say to me, and he'd be like, all right, we're going to do this. I want you to come up, and do this. It was at the time the delayed entry program.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Take your practice ASVABs and
right, yeah. And believe it or not, I scored super shitty on the practice ASVAB.
Oh God, I scored so high on that, like 90 something.
Really?
And they were like, we gotta get him down there.
Yeah, right now. Like,
yeah.
Can you start today?
Yeah. Well, they were pissed off. I scored I think I literally scored a 96 on the practice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that good? I didn't know what I didn't know what the highest was. And
well, you can't get a 100, which is weird.
It only was a 99. So I'm like, oh, well, fuck yeah. Like, awesome. Because I did shitty in school. I was a C student.
Yeah. Same here. Or D. Yeah. F.
I did terrible in the math portion, but I saved it with all the navigation stuff, the airplane stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that I knew that stuff, but I played Flight Simulator all the time on the computer.
Yeah.
So I understood it, like, without understanding it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they'd only ask you simple stuff. Like, does this show you horizontal? Or are you inverted? Are you
right?
What the types of questions they're asking. Mm-hmm. So I answered them all right. I guess playing video games helped out, Mom. But yeah, so then I go take the actual test and didn't score nearly as well. But they wanted me to be anything but a cop. And the only reason I was going in was to be a cop. I needed a 35. That was it.
Yeah, that's like infantry. Yeah.
I knew I wanted to be an MP. So I was like, I've got a plan. I'm not going to be a career guy. I'm going to do my 4 years. I'm going to get my bachelor's degree while I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have the GI Bill to do whatever I want with when I get out, use it towards police academy or whatever. I had no intention of ever getting a master's degree, but as I got older.
You have your master's now?
Yeah, now I got my master's. So that went to TCU, so it completely blew out what I had left of my
no
GI
more
Bill.
GI Bill.
Yeah, it ate the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I did that, and they weren't happy with me about. I remember like them specifically. Well, let's hold off because there's a wait right now for MPs anyway, and like they were desperately trying to get me to change. They really wanted me to do linguistics, which I had no desire to do.
Man, you could have. I mean, you could have monetized off that, though. You know what I mean?
Could have. I monetized off the cop thing.
Well, yeah.
I mean, in a way, it's all. I mean, you look at my resume. I look really good on paper. On paper, I'm not gonna say. In practice, I'm definitely not nearly as good as I look on paper. So,
what year did you join?
06.
06. See,
yeah,
you probably waited a year, man, because 07 was when they really were like surging everybody. You know what I mean? They'd have been like, "Yeah, man, do whatever you want."
Yep,
we got a plane outside.
So, I had never considered being a pilot. I just knew.
Oh man, that was my dream job.
I just knew that you had to go to college or do whatever. I didn't know the path. So for me, it just wasn't even an option. Would I have done it had somebody sat me down and said, like, here's the path, we'll take you through it? Because I've seen them do that with people.
Right.
And if I'd have had that, maybe, but I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had somebody that kind of.
Well, yeah. And so,
you
know, like I said, I was like, I'm not joining the military. You know, like, I don't want to do that shit.
Right. What year is this, by the way?
2004.
Okay. So we're already you're joining during a time of war.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. War kicked off in 01.
And, you know, believe it or not, I had like completely lost interest, but I remember whenever I was in shop class on September 11th, and I was a sophomore, and I remember, you remember your TVs on the carts, right? They're strapped down.
Oh,
they
yeah.
got the laser disc player. You know?
Yeah.
They come wheeling it in.
And you're like, fuck yeah,
I'm like,
movie
"Hell yeah,
time.
man, movie. I mean, shop class wasn't hard
Right?
anyway.
We're gonna watch
it's
Remember
like-
the Titans again. Yes.
Yes, I love this movie. No, but and I'd always like had like this sense of, like I was saying, like I loved, like when I was a kid, I loved going to the military surplus store, right? And I
You
loved
obviously had a sense of duty. All the community,
all the community service, yeah.
you were doing.
Like I'm out here because I want to be,
Yeah.
guys. And man,
I'm
if
tearing you
you-
up today,
dude,
man.
if you had heard, it was weird because people thought I was bad, but I was not bad compared to like these kids that I was doing community service with, right? I mean, these kids were wild, like some of them kind of freaked me out a little bit.
You got water there, by the way. I'm
Oh, okay.
gonna rinse mine out a little bit,
Yeah.
and then we'll switch over to.
Are you okay? Is it too harsh for you?
No, it's good.
You
I
sure?
want you to try the other one before your tongue gets dead.
Well, I'll wait then. So anyway, we watched the second plane hit, on the TV.
Right.
And yeah, because you remember the first one hit, and then there was that lull.
Yeah.
Where everyone's like, "Oh, there's an accident,"
I remember saying, "Man, that flight control tower guy really screwed up." That's what I
Yeah.
thought as a kid.
right? Or you'd hear about like, well, no, not even that, but so we're sitting there watching, and go, "Oh yeah, it was this horrible accident," and then we watch a second one fly into the tower, and I'm like, "Shit, man!" And I continued like my being a shitty teenager, but something kind of sparked my interest after that, and I was like, man, like that's fucked up. Like I was seriously like I was upset about it. Like I remember like tearing up,
Yeah.
and man, every year now it's still like I'll watch all the 9/11 stuff, and it makes me fucking cry every year.
Yeah.
Like I bawl like a bitch, dude.
I've got like we were talking about Band of Brothers, and I've got my regiment all year long that I watch as I call it a self check of why I'm serving, why I keep doing what I do. Because I tell you, like doing the reserves every day, I'm like, I just need to get out of that. Like it's
well, I'm still in part-time.
it's still a headache for me, and I'm just like, ugh,
How many years do you have left?
I don't know.
I've got like 7-ish.
I don't know.
And I don't know if I'm going to stay in. My contract's up in June of next year, and I'm like, I really like that TRICARE though. You know what I mean? Like
$200 a month for insurance. I love it.
yeah. So I mean, it's just, but they've made it like they make it so like hard for you to want to stay in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like they try, but they never try hard enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? So anyway, so I saw that and I saw it happen, and that kind of started changing my mind a little bit, And by the time 2004 rolls around, I'm like, I mean, I was hanging out. My mom was living in Stephenville because she had not remarried yet, but she was with her soon to be, husband. And I was hanging out with people that were like bad because I was still smoking pot and stuff.
Yeah.
But the people that they were hanging out with were like, I was sitting at a table one time in these girls' apartment, and these two dudes show up. I've never seen them before. They look like bad dudes, right? And I'm not kidding, man. They pull out like sacks of meth, like this freaking big, and they set them in the center of the table, and they're like, "What's up, man? You want some?" And I was like,
hell no.
"No."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I'll just stick to smoking weed."
Is this
like,
at your house or at?
No, it was at these girls' apartment.
Oh, okay.
Right? They lived in the same apartment complex as my mom did, and that's how I knew them. They were twins, and they lived like right across the way.
Gotcha.
So I would go over there and I'd hang out with them.
A lot of paper tags in that apartment complex.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So I was like, that kind of like bothered me. I was like, man, this is.
I'm getting too far gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a wake up call.
So, that recruiter comes in, he starts talking to me. He's like, hey, we went to the practice ASVAB, this and that. And he's like, I'm going to give you a pee test every couple of weeks, make sure you're clean, So, and I'm telling you, man, like for whatever reason, I just stopped doing this shit. And I think it was because I was, 9/11 bothered me. And then 2, I was just like tired. Like I was like, what am I doing?
Right.
It was like the first like spark of like, hey, you're fucking up.
A little
dude.
motivation.
Yeah. Like you're, what are you going to do with yourself? Like you're not going to do shit. You're nobody. I was working at a fucking gas station, right? Like, I I wasn't doing shit, and I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about advancing myself, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and took my ASVAB. I scored, the 85 on it, and at the time there was 210 jobs in the military, or in the Army. I wanted to be a pilot so bad. That was my dream job. I wanted to be a fighter pilot since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, like airplane or helicopter, because Army's got badass helicopters.
It's rotary wing, right?
Yeah.
But it was always airplanes. I played all I built model airplanes growing up. Like I was fascinated with the rockets that you'd shoot off, so I did all that stuff, but whenever I joined, I had bad eyesight, and in 2004, you couldn't have corrective surgery yet and be a pilot, right? So that that ruined it for me, and for whatever fucking reason, I was like, I'll just join the infantry, it's like polar opposite, right?
If I can't get what I want, I don't give a shit.
So I'm like, fuck it, I'll join the infantry, and they're like, are you sure you want to join the infantry? And I was like, yeah. Like, for whatever reason, I wanted to, I had this, like,
I wanted to struggle.
And I wanted to fight,
Yeah.
So I took the ASVAB, and out of 210 jobs, I qualified for 189 of them, I think is what they told me. And I was like, yeah, infantry. And they're like, oh, we're going to give you a $3,000 bonus. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like $3,000. That's a lot. Then, of course, by the time you get it, it's like $1,500 over because the fucking
and they're
government
give you
taxes shit out.
They're going to give you half up front, then half when you complete your term.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like,
right?
what the fuck happened?
Like, hey, man, look, y'all didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Let me out.
I think the Air Force still owes me half of the $20,000 sign-on bonus I had.
Unless you say something, they're not going to give it to you.
Yeah, and I don't even know how to challenge. I said, I don't give a shit.
They're going to be like, well, we did pay it to you, in like 3 cents at a time.
Yeah.
And your drill pay.
I'm not even going to bother. It's not worth my time.
So anyway, and I know I'm getting long-winded on all this, but so anyway, I joined. I actually was in danger of not being able to graduate because I had skipped school so much that I had to put myself in the self-paced schooling stuff, right?
To catch up on the schoolwork.
To catch up. So I was busting my ass to do that, and then as soon as I graduated, like I left for the Army.
That's crazy. You scored so high.
One of my English teachers used to tell me that I was the dumbest smart kid she ever knew.
That's the way it is.
So yeah, I was a class clown. I stopped applying myself.
Yeah.
So
sounds like we had similar background when it comes to that. Like I said, I did enough to play sports, and that was a mediocre, half-ass attempt at schoolwork.
And stay above that 70 or whatever it is, so you can play.
Average, so I could play.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I would dip below that and then have to work out deals with teachers to keep playing. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm getting too far gone. I need to apply myself again. And that would piss off the good teachers because then they're like,
we know you can do it.
Yes. But, and as a kid, you're like, I don't give a shit. I really didn't at the time. I look back and I'm like, I don't regret it. I don't look back and say, I wish I would have done so much better in high school because I don't think I'd have the personality I have. I needed that adversity. I needed that, wake up calls, as you put it. I needed to see like, all right, like you could have done better, and you can see you see it in yourself, but when push come to shove and they're not going to let you play, you're like, oh shit, like I needed that because I had it too easy. Yeah.
Like you do better, and I'm that same way. Like on certain things, and you're probably the same way as I am. Like you do better whenever you have something like, hey, like this is it. Like you have to do this or you can't do it. You're like, fuck, I can get it done right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm very mission oriented.
Right. Yeah. So if it's just like, hey, well, whatever, like, I'll have to get to it when I get to it.
Yeah. I'm obsessive compulsive, obviously, when it comes to goals and missions. So, I heard it from somebody at one time said, write down your 5-year plan. Just write it down. It doesn't matter that you can think of it. You have to write it down. That's the key. Write it down. So I said, okay, I'll write it down. I put it on a Facebook post. I was like, these are my 5-year plan goals.
Yeah.
And put it all out there. And that Facebook memory thing came up at the 5-year mark.
5 years ago, yeah.
I had hit every single fucking goal on there.
That's good.
It was fucking crazy.
That's awesome.
It was nuts, but it opened up my eyes to my personality type. I hadn't realized it about myself, but I'm very goal oriented. Like I need a mission. Like
yeah. That's
I know the lawn needs to be mowed. That's not a mission to me. That's just a reoccurring fuck. I don't want to do that. So on certain things, like people are like, he's so lazy. Like he's a lazy dude.
Yeah.
But then you look at the other side of the coin when it's stuff that I've put a mission out for myself
Yeah.
for, like this dude doesn't stop.
Mhm.
So it's weird how I can be polar opposites on certain things.
Well, and they have, and it's big in the tactical world, and it's big like with corporations or whatever. But there's a test. You probably know what I'm talking about.
The
but I can't remember.
Miggs-Bryan or Myers-Briggs personality test?
There's that one. No, there's another one.
Okay.
I can't remember the freaking name of it right now. But anyway, it tells you, hey, you're good at this, or these people are good at this, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. They're like, oh, well, you're fucking lazy on this. Okay, I might be lazy on this, but you're lazy on this.
Yeah.
Right. So we kind of all come together, and it makes the big picture, it makes everything work.
You're not going to be strong in everything.
No, nobody
Yeah.
is, and that's that thing.
Unless you're Buck Wheeler.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I've got a book that he loaned me, and I still have not read it. So I hope he doesn't listen.
Oh
to
my
this,
God.
but it's called The Art of Resiliency.
Yeah, every book that Buck gives me, and most of the books they're all audio books because he knows I'm not a reader. So
he
he'll
gave
let
me
me
the book, but
he'll let me know, like, this one's in audio. You can edit. I'm like, thank you,
it's
Buck.
okay.
Yeah.
I know you can't read well. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate reading.
See, I used to love it, man.
Hate
and,
it.
Every time we go somewhere, like my wife, her aunt has a house up in Ruidoso, New Mexico, and I'll get up early and I'll go make some coffee and I'll go sit on the deck, and stare at the mountains and read a freaking book for like 2 hours. And I come home, don't touch it. I try to pick it up and it's like, bam, pick up my phone, or there's too many distractions here. You know what I mean?
That's why I like podcasts. Because
they're good to listen to.
I have
man.
a lot of good, like most of the, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say most of the podcasts I listen to are educational, but at the same time, Two Bears, One Cave and Your Mom's House. That's
Your Mom's House.
Yeah. That's by.
Is that a real podcast or are you saying?
No, it's a real podcast. Yeah. I listen to both of those and those are not educational at all.
Well, sometimes you got to, just zone out.
Don't let your kids listen to either one of those. And if you watch Your Mom's House or listen to Your Mom's House or watch it, one of the two, don't judge me. All right. I told you I have a dark sense of humor because if you don't and you like, I want to see what, Two Cops, One Donut listens to. Like, why is he like this one? They're
Eric,
like,
what have you done?
What is wrong with you? Yeah. Because it's raunchy. Yeah, it's bad.
So I'll try to fast forward a little bit. So
you're fine, dude.
Okay.
We're not even quite at an hour, so.
Okay, good. Well, I feel like my story is taking forever.
No,
I'm like just now
what's
getting
the
the
rush?
basic training.
This is what people like. This is okay. Let me break down my formula for you. Yes, we're asking your story, right?
Yeah.
But what makes your story great is that people are going to get to see the humanized part of you, and those are always the rabbit holes.
Yeah.
That's the fun side discussions. I think that's what people enjoy. Despite how many people bitched and complained how long my podcasts are, now that I've been doing it a year and a half, I've gotten a lot of, okay, I get it now.
Okay.
So I'm like, if you know you don't have time to listen to it, that's fine. But if you're a person who's patient, listens 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, whatever it is, because that's how I listen to podcasts. I listen to Rogan all the time. 3 hours.
3 hours, yeah.
So it takes me a week to get through a Rogan podcast, but I do it. And if it's somebody I'm not interested in, I don't listen to it. I skip through.
Yeah.
I go to the next one. So same.
A good one. I don't know if you've listened to it yet, and they're not super long. But do you know who Travis Haley is?
I know the name.
So
That
Haley
does sound familiar.
Strategic, right? He's a former Marine, like recon dude. But now he owns a defense company called Haley Strategic, and he, they have armor for. They do like all the soft goods stuff, right? Like your body armor, slings. Like he used to work for Magpul, right? He was big in the Magpul world.
Okay.
I think he was had part ownership or whatever. Anyway, he has a podcast now called The Bridge, and The Bridge is he does not delve so much into like the tactical world, and he tells you like, hey, this is not for that, right? He said this is like you just had that kid. You remember the in Afghanistan last year when they all got blown up. Like when they were pulling everybody out, at the airport. Yeah, he just had one of the kids on, man, that like lost his freaking arm and leg. He's like early 20s. Like he brought him on there, and they're about an hour-ish, hour and a half. Okay. But they're cool to listen to because it's not like, oh, we're talking about products and this and that. Kind of like we do, like kind of like we're doing right now, right? So we're not talking about, let's just talk about cop stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like if you want to listen to like some shorter ones, like not like Rogan. go check his out. They're cool.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Yeah, I listen to Dan Carlin, Hardcore History. That's a real good one. Those are
you
long.
listen to Art of Manliness?
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, dude.
Is that a good one?
So good.
Okay.
It's like real, like true, like getting back to like what men are about. You know what I mean?
Like
It's-
not
it's
demasculinating.
Right, it's
I
like-
can't even say the word.
demasc.
Demasculinating us?
Yeah, something like
Demasculizing
that.
us?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Science.
But it's cool, man. It's like really like what skills like men should know. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they, you know, they talk about, well, they just, you
like
gotta
beard
check it out.
maintenance.
They do actually.
That's
It's
a good one.
stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
Now that we can have them.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
Finally.
I
Yeah.
know, right?
Only took like forever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I forget where I guess I'll go back to my story. So anyway, because I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's okay.
So anyway, I left for basic training. I think I got to Fort Benning, which they're now changing the name of. It's no longer Fort Benning. Well, it won't be soon.
I
Anyway,
think it's going to be called Fort Hugs and Kisses.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fort We Care.
Yeah.
Hashtag we
hashtag.
care. Yeah. So, I step off the bus, man. Like I landed in Atlanta, and then we had to wait on the bus to come pick us up, and that's the most like silence I've ever heard is whenever the bus comes and picks you up to take you to Fort Benning because everyone's brand new and you're scared shitless.
Yeah. And the drill instructors aren't on the bus yet.
They're not on the bus.
That's the fun part.
It's
Because
just like-
they lull you into like a false sense of security.
Yeah.
Because you expect them to be there. Like
Yeah.
minute one.
Yeah, because you're like, well, okay, like I'm going here. They're gonna meet us. It's just some civilian bus driver, and he doesn't say shit to you. You
Right.
know, it's just like he's probably sitting there. He's like, these poor fuckers.
Oh,
you know, like-
that's probably makes his day.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
can't
He
wait.
probably loves it. Yeah. So we get there, and of course, it's the whole like shark attack thing. Actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't. So we get there, and we get off the bus, and I remember they sit us all down on these benches, and it's just quiet. And like there's people there, but it's just quiet. Nobody's saying anything. And that's almost like more scary because you're like,
Yeah. You're
What's
supposed to be
going
in my
on?
ass by now. Why are
Yeah.
you not?
yeah, like why? Like, so I remember they give you what they call the Jimmy Deans. You know, it's the cellophane wrapped, kind of like an MRE,
Okay.
but it's cellophane wrapped and it's on a styrofoam tray.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Which is so much better than an MRE.
Oh. Yeah.
Mysteries. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, after we're there, they're like, hey, fucking, you're going to go through and you start getting your initial stuff, your PTs, this and that, right? And that's reception. So you're at the reception battalion. You're not really in infantry school yet.
Right.
In infantry, we do what's called OSA, one station unit training. So it's basic training and infantry school all wrapped into one, which infantry schools, or the total amount of time there, basic used to be 9.5 weeks, but you're there for 4.5 months. Well, it was basically 4.5 months of fucking basic training.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember, dude, the first night, like once we left reception and we got to like our battalion, I was in Alpha 119, right? So Alpha Company, and like we're sitting there, and they fuck all. Of course, all they do. Actually, that's right. We get off the bus, and they're making you hold your duffel bags like this, right?
Right.
And you've got one on your back, you got one right here, and they're like, "Motherfucker, you better not drop that shit." But you're gonna drop it.
Yeah.
Because
you can only
it's
do
impossible because they're
Yeah.
gonna hold you there until you fucking drop it, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I had my fucking PC on, my patrol cap on, and I could see the sweat like dripping off the brim of my hat, and I'm fucking shaking. I'm like, please don't drop it. And you just get to that point where you're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop it. Once you say you're gonna drop it, it's happening soon.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So they smoked the dog shit out of us, every day, every night. And I'm laying in my bunk the first night. You're laying there with those fucking green wool blankets and the white sheets. And I was laying it, and I was on the bottom bunk. And you could hear people crying.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
But I just laid there, and I was in such shock and like disbelief. I was staring up at the top bunk, and I was like, all I could think about, I was like, I gotta fucking find a way to get out of here.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Impact Tactical. Impact is a tactical outfitter for the men and women of our military, police, fire departments, and other public safety around the country. Impact's core beliefs is that fearless men and women protect our freedom and safety should have access to the best tactical performance apparel, equipment, and tools on the market. and they shouldn't have to go broke to get it. I've used Impact for about 11 years, and I can attest that they do live up to their core values. So you get a personal recommendation from me. You can find them at impacttactical.com. That's MPAK tactical.com. And be sure to tell them that 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you.
We'll break out of this bitch.
Dude. And believe it or not, man, a shitload of people tried.
Yeah.
And they'd always catch them because they'd get in a cab. They'd like leave Fort Benning. They'd get in a cab, and the fucking cab driver would call. He'd be like, hey, like, I got this guy, I just dropped him off at, wherever, the bus stop. And they bring them back, and they always, you knew the people that ran away because they were wearing orange road guard vests when they came back.
Oh,
right?
no shit.
Because that's how they identify.
Yeah.
Like, hey, these motherfuckers, you gotta watch.
He's a flight
them,
risk. Yeah.
So, and it was like every Sunday, it's like, man, hallelujah. I've been going to church my entire life because you'd leave. They let you go to church on Sunday, right?
Yep.
And, you'd sing all the songs.
Right.
And they're playing guitar. You're like, oh,
I'm so spiritual now.
Right.
It's like being in prison.
Yeah. Right. So, because if you didn't go on Sunday,
You were stuck in the
it
base.
sounds so bad,
Yeah.
but you were stuck in the barracks doing area beautification, right? That's what it was called.
I used that opportunity to see other religions.
Yeah.
So I went you can make friends
Could
with
go
everybody.
to,
So I went to all my friends' churches. Like,
Mhm.
I remember going to what is that one called? The Islam one. I can't think of
Muslim?
Well, I did go to a Muslim one, but I went to another one. It was similar.
Sikhs,
yes.
Sikhs.
I went to
They were
Sikhs.
the
Yes.
head wrap. Yeah.
That was super cool. But it was I Christian, but I went and it was an education thing for me.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna go to these different churches and see
Yeah.
what they're all about. I even went to a Wiccan one
Really?
just to see
They
what it
have
was.
a church?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So-
there's a Church of Satan, so I guess a
I
Wiccan
didn't
church.
see
Yeah.
that one available.
I don't
And I found out later that they ended up there's like a Jedi one. Yeah. I'm mad I missed that. 'cause
Are you now a member of that
I
church?
would be. I would be if I knew how to get
Who do
in.
they pray to? Obi-Wan?
I don't know. I don't know how it works. I think it's
The
more
Force?
I think it's more of a lifestyle than a religion, but somehow it's in there. But yeah.
It's church.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I do, and I know what you mean though about just fucking trying to get some relief to get
Dude.
away. Yeah.
And it was like, I don't think they gave us mail for the first month, and you thought like, okay, well, you got there, and they lined everybody up at the there was like that row of payphones,
Yep.
and everybody had to get information, and it was one after another, and you go up to the payphone, they're like, hey, call your fucking family, and tell
And
them
you're
okay.
so hoping that it fucking goes through and that you get the
Someone
number.
picks up,
Yes.
and they're like, call them and tell them you're okay, and then get off the fucking phone. So you go up like, hey, I love you, I'm here, whatever.
They're sitting by the phone, just hanging over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, fuck.
And my parents were already so pissed because whenever I joined, it was 04, and they're like, I remember I called my mom and told her like, hey, I joined the Army, and she's like, well, what'd you do? And I was like, I joined the infantry, and she's like, oh, I started crying, right? And my dad was pissed. He's like, you're gonna get yourself killed. That's what he told me. Like, he wasn't like, hey, congratulations, whatever. Which
Yeah.
he was a worried parent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like, hey, screw it, whatever, like, this is what I
Yeah.
want to do. So I graduate.
I don't want your life.
I
That's
don't
what I
want
picture.
your
here.
life.
Yeah.
Old James Vanderbeek.
Yeah. That's what I picture for the town you grew up in.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, kind of. It's not West Texas, but you got to drive out to Springtown sometime.
Okay.
But so anyway, I remember I graduate infantry school, and we had this hardcore dude. We had this hardcore company commander. His name was Captain Benefiel, right? Big fucking like. If you thought about like he was a ranger, right? And if you thought about like what a ranger was, that was him. Like he was this big old fucking shaved head, like probably like 6'5",
Perfect posture
fucking
all the time.
stacked, right?
Yeah.
Like we'd be on road marches, dude, and he, we had to stay on either side of the road, but they walk in between us, right? This motherfucker whipped his dick out one time, just started pissing while he's walking. I mean, like, just open his BDUs up, just taking a piss, man, while he's walking. He's like, fuck it, I'm not kidding, dude. I was like,
tell him he's wrong.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
daggone, dude. Like, so we graduate. The day we graduate, this motherfucker's like, he's talking to the families.
Oh, great.
And he's like, I just want y'all to know, he's like, all your sons are going to war. And he goes, and some of them aren't coming back.
Damn.
Like, dude, I mean, like 100% that he just said it just like that. And I mean, no emotion, nothing. He's like, they're going, some
Yeah.
of them aren't coming back.
I mean,
And I was like, fuck, damn.
I
Like,
get that. I get that motivational talk to your troops. I think
Yeah.
that really needs to be put in their head. And then I get that conversation. Like leadership needs to tell you these are the conversations you need to have with your spouse.
yeah.
Like, I get that, but damn,
Mhm.
I don't think you should be telling my family that shit.
Yeah, I know.
And
It's
what's
kind
supposed
of
to be the proudest moment, in my
Uh-huh.
career at that time.
Yeah. Well, they did the whole like infantry graduation is they got like freaking Bradley fighting vehicles like driving around, they're shooting off explosives and shit. You're all out there in formation, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm a badass. And then like afterward, that's when they talk to the families. And that's when he said that, like,
Shit.
yeah, it's all quiet and stuff. And he tells them that.
All of a
was like,
sudden,
"Oh,
families
fuck,
are all
dude."
crying.
Yeah. They're like grabbing their kids like,
Yeah.
let's get out of here right
Yeah.
now. You're not in the army anymore.
Yeah.
He's done. Yeah.
Damn.
So I get to go home for like a week or so. And then I have to go to Fort Campbell. I report to Fort Campbell. And I got to Fort Campbell in, I think, December of 2004,
What state is that in?
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
They always say the mailbox must be in Kentucky because most of it's in Tennessee. Right?
Oh.
Yeah. So the majority of Fort Campbell is in Tennessee, which beautiful state, man. If you've
Yeah.
never been, like,
Yep.
especially during the fall time, like,
Yep.
it's not like our shit here where it's like everything just dies. And
My
it's
wife's
like,
grandparents are from Saudi Daisy, Tennessee, which is
Really?
like a one church town type of place.
yeah, so it's beautiful up
Yeah.
there, man. I mean, the grass stays green, but then all the trees like turn red and yellow
Yep.
and orange and
You
like
can golf all year long, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Tennessee's nice.
I got up there and it was like immediately like start training. Let's train because we're going. We're going. We're the 101st. Like, you're going.
Yeah.
Right. And I was there. Yeah. Like I was thinking about all the crazy shit I got into as
Yeah.
soon as I got there, and it was the same thing because I thought when I got to Fort Campbell, like, hey, I'm a soldier now.
Right. I'm a professional.
Right, like-
yeah.
But now it's like basic training all over again because you're the fucking new guy.
Yeah.
Right.
FNG,
FNG,
baby. Yeah.
right? And I remember the night I walked out, they were supposed to be, okay, so barracks room is like a barracks room, there's a common area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's supposed to be one person rooms, but they were stacking they were bringing so many people in for the war,
Yeah. I was
You
going
know,
to say,
for
you're
the-
deploying. So,
for Iraq and Afghanistan, right? It was 2 guys to a room. So I get there that night and, my roommate was actually not there because he just had the PRK surgery, the laser eye surgery. And he was like still staying at the hospital or whatever, because I guess his eyes were hurting. Well, this E2, I went in as an E3, right? I was a
too.
private first class.
yeah.
And I'm thinking like, hey, it's cool. Like I got
I
a
got a little bit
head
of rank,
start.
bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a head start on some shit, right? So I walk in and this PV2, C2, Williamson, he's mopping the floors. And he's like, hey, get over here and start mopping these floors. And I was like, that's when you still wore your rank right here. I was like,
do you see the extra stripe, bitch?
yeah, I was like, I'm good, dude. Like, I was like,
Flexing
and
a
he's
little.
like, yeah. And he's like, no, he's like, come over here and start mopping. I was like, no, fuck off. Like, I'm taking my shit in here. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. We got to be at formation at 5:30 in the morning. He just doesn't say anything else. Well, in the barracks, like did y'all have CQ at the barracks? Like where somebody always had to stay on duty 24 hours? Kind of like staff duty, CQ?
I was married. I did not have to stay in the barracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the barracks has, CQs, 24-hour, whatever. You do CQ
Yeah.
that night or that day for 24 hours
Yeah.
straight. You get
I
the
used to
next
have to
day
do
off.
checks on the barracks and all that stuff as a security forces guy. So yeah, I know exactly.
Right.
Yeah. There's always somebody on staff.
So there was this E6 that was running because it's 2 lower enlisted and 1 like senior, higher up, like at
Yeah,
least a
NCO.
sergeant or above
Yeah.
an NCO. And his name was Sergeant Ottinger, and he was a ranger, right? He was like this, like he wasn't that old, but he was like starting to get old, like kind of in that
For the military.
transition phase, yeah.
Yeah.
And I locked my barracks room door, and I'm like, fuck this, and I lay down to go to sleep. And I wasn't in the bed like 2 minutes, and I hear this whoom, 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 like kicking, like about to break down my fucking door. And he's like, get your fucking ass out here. And I was like, who the fuck is that? Like,
I just
I'm-
fucking got here.
I just got here like not an hour ago, and there's someone like about to break my door down. Well, I like tiptoe over there, and I look through the peephole, and I'm like, oh shit, like it's fucking.
You
Staff
see
sergeant.
rank, yeah.
But I just pretended like I didn't hear him. And I went and got back in my bed, and I was like, he'll go away, like it's okay. I'm just gonna go to sleep. Of course, I wouldn't have slept anyway because I freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
So he does not go away, and finally I come out, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, he just smoked me for like 3 hours, dude. Like, he just fucking smoked me. And then, and then I had to still be at formation, dude. And they treated me like shit, like, because I was the new guy. And I was like, this is fucking basic training all over again. And that same thought went back into my head. And I was like, I should just pack up my shit right now and drive off, because I have a truck and, you know, I'm not in basic training anymore, you know. And I just kept telling myself, it was kind of like that thing about how, when I joined, I was like, just make it one more day. You know, I was like, keep doing this, keep doing this. You know, there was like literally like God was telling me, like, just keep going this direction.
I remember training you in the academy, and you constantly were trying to quit. And
no, I was not, man. Don't spread that fucking lie.
He come to my office like, Officer Levine, I can't make it. This is so much harder than the Army ever was.
You remember, I was a cop before I came to where we're at, but
not a real cop.
Yeah,
well, you didn't work where we worked.
You know, people like to say that, man. But
I was a cop too.
Yeah,
came from a different.
I was a deputy sheriff, but
so you worked in the jail, so you weren't a real cop.
I never worked in the jail.
I'm just fucking with you.
Wow, you're a bitch, dude.
God, he takes it so personal. It's so sensitive. That's why they're changing.
Respect me.
That's why they're changing the names of these bases, because the guy's so sensitive, like him.
Look, we were like, come on, tell me your story. And then you're like, fuck you, that's not real. That's not true. You're a fucking quitter. Dude, hey, by the way, this is pretty good.
You like that?
It's got like a honey on the end.
Yeah,
man.
it's a rye.
Is it?
Yes.
Which one is that?
That's which?
No, that's bourbon.
Is it?
That's the uncut. Yeah. It's
bourbon.
I'm
sorry.
Rye's spicy, dude.
I could have swore they told me this was a rye. Maybe I'm wrong.
But what's on the back there?
No, you're right. It is a bourbon. What's on the back?
Yeah, I thought there was what does that say?
The batch number?
Oh, okay. Where did you get that one at?
I
wonder if that's a pick.
Specs.
Yeah, it might be a pick.
Oh, you know what I just realized about this little cup too is it's see-through. The shredder thing. If you look on the inside of the glass, I can see the same pattern. It's pretty neat.
Oh, I was like,
you see how the light goes through it?
Yeah, you can see. Yeah. Yep. Wow, you're so observant.
That's pretty cool. Well, I can't see my pores, so I was trying not to get crazy.
You want to switch? Well, it's just germs, dude.
Right, I know. Fuck it.
So, anyway, so I was at Campbell, you know, and I was like, please let a new guy show up. I need somebody newer than me.
Yeah.
You know, like, they're going to smoke me every day because, you know, I'm the new guy. And I remember, man, so I had this buddy, Eddie Michalski, and he was older. He was, you know, 24 or so at the time he joined, and I was only 18, right? Or let's see, I was 18. I turned 19 just barely after I got to Campbell. So he showed up and we immediately became friends, and it was his birthday, and he's like, hey man, let's go out. You know, I was like, hey, I'm not 21. Like, no one's going to serve me. Well, they liked, you know, military friendly towns sometimes don't ask. You know what I mean?
They overlook it.
Yeah. So we go out for his birthday and we get pretty tore up. And the next morning, and believe it or not, this guy that I'm about to tell you about is one of my best friends, man. Like, I deployed with this guy. Like, he saved my fucking life at times. Like, it's like he's one of the best friends I've ever had.
Yeah.
So he was a newly promoted E5. He was a sergeant. Well, Eddie and I came in the next morning. Well, it's nothing for you to show up like smelling like booze, right? Like in the military, you're like, hey, we'll go run it out.
I remember,
right?
Yeah, it's PT morning. I remember people smelling like straight tequila.
The whole formation just smells like it, right? Dudes are like falling out, throwing up, and then get back in formation like, I'm good now, you know?
Yep.
So I show up that morning, and my buddy Lou, his name is Jeremy Lewis, we call him Lou. I didn't know him yet. And he goes and tells my fucking team leader, he's like, hey, man, he's like, your boy Brazeal smells like booze. And they come over to me like, hey, Brazeal, like, what'd you do last night? And I was like, you know, nothing. And they're like, you didn't go out? And I was like, well, yeah, I went out for my friend's birthday. And they're like, okay, well, like, how old are you? And I was like, well, I'm 18. And they're like, all right. They're like, they start smoking me, right? They smoke me. And then they take me, after they're done smoking me, and they make me stand in the corner, right? And they put me in the corner in the company area, and I'm facing in, like, I'm literally like a little kid in timeout.
Did you tell him that your name was Baby?
No.
That probably would have got you out of the corner.
Oh, I get it. Didn't. Right.
Oh.
Do you have that sound? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, they've got me standing in the corner for like, I don't know, half an hour, man. I'm just like scared because I just got here.
Right.
Again, I'm fucking myself over, right?
Right.
Like I'm just. So they put me in fucking shackles, dude, like the chains, right? And they're like, hey, we're taking you to the MP station. You know, we're gonna give you a breathalyzer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just got here and I'm done. Like I'm gonna get kicked out of the army already.
Right.
So they make me stand there for like half an hour. People are walking by me, you know, like, bro, look at this fucking idiot, right? He finally comes over to me and he's like, hey, I'm just fucking with you. You're not that bad. And they take me out of the shackles, but then they just proceed to smoke me for the rest of the day, dude.
Yeah.
Like all day long, I got fucking smoked. I was puking outside, like, you know, the company area where the trucks kind of back up to the company areas, you know,
Yeah.
unload stuff.
Well, they had to get all the booze out.
Puking over the edge, right?
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, other than that, it was like we train, 3-4 day weekend, go to Nashville, you know, hang out in Nashville. And then November of 2005, we deployed. So
Where'd you go first?
we stopped so we flew from Fort Campbell on a commercial airliner. You know, so it's like everybody put all their body armor and shit, like, and you had your guns, like we're all crammed into these, you know,
civilian planes. Yeah.
with all of our shit. And
Yep.
we're like, hey man, this is very uncomfortable.
Every single one of you are hitting on the stewardess.
Well, they gave us, was it Valium? They gave us like prescription pills to
knock
sleep.
you the fuck out.
It was Valium.
Well, that makes sense. You get adjusted to the time change.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's an 18-hour flight.
Yeah.
You know, so some of the guys took them. I took mine, still couldn't sleep. I mean,
Okay.
I was
Wired.
I was like, this
I'm
is
been
it.
going to
Like
war,
we're fucking
yeah.
going. You know, my buddy Corey, he was my gunner. He fell asleep, and the stewardess walks by, and I still tell this joke that it's just funny. It's not a joke, but he's so out of it. You know, she's walking by, she's going, you want the chicken or the fish? And I was like, oh, I'll have the chicken, you know, and she's trying to ask Corey, but he's asleep. And I'm like, nudging him, I'll wake him up. He's so out of it. She's like, do you want chicken or fish? And he's like, that's fine. And I was like, no, motherfucker, like, you got to choose one. He's
She's
like,
asking you a
yeah,
question.
yeah, I have the chicken. So anyway, we stop somewhere on the East Coast, and we actually refueled there. You couldn't get off the plane. Like, you just stayed on the plane. And then we flew into Shannon, Ireland, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, you
you
would
get
think
to
it's
stop?
nice. We got out, but you got to go to like this one little like closed off area, and then you could go outside into the smoking area. It was all like chained up, like chain link fence.
So you didn't actually get to go civilian style.
No, and they had this huge like booze area with all this Irish whiskey, and I can't fucking go in there.
Within eyesight?
Yeah,
Fuck.
like you could literally walk up and like look at it, and if you had like a fucking pole, you could reach out and touch it. But he's like, they're like, you can't go in there. And, you know, we heard all these rumors like, oh, you know, some of them, they've been letting some guys like have one beer, you know, like in the airport. They
Yeah.
were like, no drinking. Like, you can go outside of the smoking area. As soon as we're done refueling, we're getting back on the plane.
Which is smart, because and you know how idiots they are.
oh, yeah.
One grunt alone is okay to control, but
Yeah.
all of you together.
No, yeah. Like, they'd
Yeah.
have the Shannon, Ireland airport shut down, right? So it was so cool because I've always wanted to visit Ireland, and it was just like what you see in the movies. Like, we came
Just
down through the
green.
clouds, rolling green hills, and I was
Yeah.
like, it's beautiful. And I've still never got to go back.
As soon as you land, were you yelling freedom?
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah.
So that movie was on the other day, man. I always watching it. Like, what are they asking? He's like, just say mercy or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's like, you could see him like gathering it up,
Yeah.
and he yells freedom. And everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
you know.
I just love watching all the mistakes, because I've watched it so many times. I've seen all the film editing errors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, I don't want to see those.
Oh,
I just want to keep it the way I know it.
yeah,
You know
like
what I mean?
when they're running across the field. and
I
he's
watched
got-
some of them.
And he's
Yeah,
got
like,
the sword out, but then all of a sudden it's not out, and then or like when they pull up the poles to hit the horses,
uh-huh.
and like he's like hold, and at one point you see they're holding the poles, and then they're still rushing at them, but then the poles are back down. Yeah,
Thanks, man. I
you're welcome.
appreciate it. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Ruined it for me.
Ah, sucks.
No.
It's still not bad. It's just
So,
funny.
after Shannon, Ireland, we flew into Kuwait, and we stayed in Kuwait for like a couple weeks, like your, work up,
Yeah.
And it was cool because I remember, what was the movie with Joaquin Phoenix where he was Johnny Cash? Walk the Line.
Yeah.
That hadn't been released in the States yet, but in Kuwait, they had one of those kind of like temporary buildings set up. It was just like covered with like the white tarp stuff.
Yeah.
We got to watch Walk the Line and then Four Brothers. Remember
Nice.
Four Brothers,
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg
yeah.
and
That's in Detroit.
Tyrese, and yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to watch those movies. Like, hell yeah, it's badass. And I was like, I'm kind of liking it here. Like, let's just stay in
This is
Kuwait.
all
You know?
right,
Like,
yeah.
They have a McDonald's pop up there, but it's like the European version of McDonald's. You get like a Mec Royale.
Royale, yeah.
and
Royale
so-
with cheese.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. You know, you could buy NA beer, right, in the little shop that they.
NA beer.
Yeah, non-alcoholic beer.
Ugh.
It was fucking disgusting. Like we all
Ugh.
bought. We're like, yeah, let's try them, man. It's so gross. So
Why?
gross. I don't know.
No.
You know, so from there we they took us to we got on the buses and we went from obviously we had like, you know, security and stuff like in the Humvees and stuff kind of escorting us,
Mm-hmm.
and we went to Ali Al Salim Airport, and from there we flew we got on C-17s and we flew into Baghdad to Baghdad International Airport.
C-17s are impressive fucking planes, aren't they?
Yeah, they're cool,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
They're cool. The
I never get tired of seeing them.
I guess it was the Loadmaster. Is that the guy that walks around the back?
Yep.
I tried to joke with him. He didn't like it. I was like, hey man, like, what are you serving for dinner? He was like, fuck you. Like he
Probably the
looked
90 millionth time he's heard that
yeah,
from
right.
you fuckers.
He's
Yeah.
like, bitch. You know?
Yeah.
So, he got like upset about it, and like we kind of got in this like shit talking competition. And then he went and told somebody, and then like it was like, hey, you won't keep doing that. We're gonna, you know, get you. However, they could get me in trouble. They were gonna do it. Yeah. So like, all right, dude.
Oh,
like,
God. That's
guess
why
it
you don't
wasn't
like
that
Air Force
funny.
guys.
Yeah, it was probably you. I just don't remember.
Oh shit.
So we get to BIOP, and you know, from there it's like you get on a Chinook and you fly to your FOB, you know, your forward operating
Yeah.
base. And I remember, man, I'd ridden in several Blackhawks because we do so much like air assault operations and stuff at Fort Campbell. It's Black Hawk. The 160th SOARs there. I mean, they're like the dudes that fly in, you know, the spec ops guys,
Yeah.
right?
It's your Black Hawk Down guys.
Dude, they're fucking amazing pilots. Like, I don't know how you could fly some shit like that, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I remember
It's such a bulky helicopter.
yeah. And I love to sit like on the outside and they fly them with like the doors open.
But they fucking bank so hard, dude.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
I remember we were flying and we were doing a training mission one night, and I remember I was sitting there and I looked over and I was staring right at the ground because
Yeah.
the 60 was banked so hard to the left that we were like sideways, like we were tilted over, and I was like, holy shit.
I was told they can roll. That's what I was told. I was told they can.
Yeah, well, I've seen helicopters do that.
Yeah.
So it's like
I was
I'm
told they can roll. I don't think that's optimal. It's not something you want to be doing.
Yeah.
But I heard
anything can roll, right?
Yeah, I heard they can. And it's a controllable.
But
maneuver.
dude, these guys, man, they would fly like literally nap of the earth. Like
Yeah.
you almost sometimes you'd feel like you could reach out and like touch the ground. They were flying so low.
Yeah.
And whenever they would come in, like the way they'd stop, dude, like so this Blackhawk's like this, right?
Yeah.
That's how you keep the most speed going. You know, get the nose down. And they wanted to stop fast. They would just go whoom, and they'd like put that thing like almost vertical, like
tail almost touching.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude. And then they just go whoop, level out, bam, drop you off, and they're gone, dude.
Yeah.
You know, because Fort Campbell went. It's always going to be considered 101st Airborne, right? But a lot of people don't know, like the 101st hasn't been airborne since like Vietnam. That's whenever it became air mobile, right?
Yeah.
And that's when they started like the air assault operations and stuff like that. So now it's like you go to air assault school at Fort Campbell instead of airborne.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's all the like, hey, fast rope, you know, bring, you know, you see the Vietnam movies where they bring like a whole bunch of Hueys in and drop all these dudes off and they pick up and they're gone.
Yeah.
That's what.
Little hot drops and whatnot. Yeah.
So we got on these Chinooks, right, the CH-47s, and they're like, hey, you want some earplugs? And I was like, no, I'll be all right. Well, I'd never ridden on a CH-47.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got in there and those freaking turbines spun up, I was like, I need some earplugs. But I didn't have a way to get any now. So I had to sit there
and endure it.
Yeah, going wee, you know, just that whine. And I remember, man, like I don't know who he was, like one of the air crew. He's just sitting on the back loading gate, dude, of the Chinook, just feet dangling off the edge. He's got his fucking 240 or 50, whatever it was.
Enjoying the ride.
And we're flying over Baghdad, dude. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, what if someone fucking shoots us down? Or, you know, like, I'm like scared, dude, because I'm like, I don't know what to expect. Like, this is it, you know? Like, you watch those movies where someone shows up to a combat zone, it's all just like eerily quiet. And you're like, well, like, when's it coming?
Yeah.
You know? And obviously, you know, we made it to where we were going with no problems, you know?
Yep.
So I don't know. I'll take a break now. You can ask some questions.
No, you're fine. So in that you go you go to Iraq or Afghanistan?
Iraq.
Iraq
I
first.
was in Baghdad.
So you go there, and how long is your first deployment?
A year.
You do a whole year
Mhm.
in Iraq.
Yeah.
During that time, what was the main mission? Holding ground?
So we, you look at like special forces. Special forces is real good at training like not indigent. What's the word?
Indigenous?
Indigenous, right? To
Kind of poor, yeah.
Whoops. Been in the cop
It's
world too long.
it's the booze. It's
Yeah.
okay.
So they had handed off now, like, they train indigenous forces to fight, against whatever forces, that you're trying to.
Yeah, and they were very effective at it.
Right. So, I mean, people think like Green Berets, like all those guys are like, they think first, oh, they're fighters. Their main job is really to go in and train these populations to stand up and, rise up against whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
To repel that ideology or whatever. So they had handed that off to conventional forces. So I had been, right before we deployed, they took, a few guys from each battalion and they made us into like our own team. So I was on a 17-man team. It's called a MIT team. Right, it's a military transition team. So our job was we literally embedded with a battalion of Iraqi army. And our job was to take them on raids, patrols, whatever. We train them and then we go out and do it real world, right?
How well did you trust them?
Oh, dude.
I've heard horror stories from my buddy Eric. He's
Yeah.
like, dude, they come in high. They fucking...
Well, not just that, but so if you wanted to be in 05, and hopefully, I don't know how it is there now, but if you wanted to join the Iraqi army, like you just came and said, hey,
I want to be an army guy.
yeah. And it's like, here's your DCUs. Remember the chocolate
Yeah.
chips? They said, here's your DCUs and your AK-47. And that was it, man. Like,
Yeah.
you're in the fucking army now.
Yeah. Which isn't like, this is one of the things I like pushing to people when I tell them, like, you get pissed off because they just rolled over when we transitioned and got out of there and all this stuff. I'm like, you're talking about a culture from our nation that is to defend and fight for the flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the Disney princess terms of it.
Right.
But it's indoctrinated in us. Like, even if you're anti-military government, whatever it is, the moment somebody invades this country, even the worst of us when it comes to, anti-military,
Mm-hmm.
they can't help it. It's
Right.
indoctrinated.
Yeah.
To go to a country like that where it is subservient to whoever is in power at the time and just don't get killed
Right.
by your government.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're expecting them to have the same mentality of fucking G.I. Joes that come over and try to train them that way.
We're here to help.
Yeah, we're here to help. I'm going to turn you into a killer.
Yeah.
And
I'm
it's
from the
like-
government. I'm here to help you.
it's like trying to quit smoking when you're not ready to quit smoking. You take a guy that it sounds good. Like, it seems like I got a way to provide for my family. I'm going to take care of them. I've got these guys, the American soldiers, right next to me. I see all the pluses, but you don't have the mindset. If your mindset's
Right.
not there,
Yeah.
how effective are we really going to be? And we were there 20 years,
Yeah.
but still.
Well, and they feel everyone's always kind of looked up to us, right? Like, we've always kind of been like the protectors of the world.
Yeah, with
right?
the world
Like,
police.
Yeah.
That's the way people look at us.
And if something happens, people are like, hey, America, come help us.
Right.
And we all know that it's a lot of times it's kind of split. Like, it's like some want us there and some want us don't, or some don't want us. you know?
My dog's
The dog's
crying.
trying to come out and throw the toy.
Yeah.
So, whenever we got over there, you see these guys and they're like, oh man, we love America, blah, 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 blah. But nobody ever thinks like that at some point America is going to pick up and leave and it's going to be up to them.
Yeah.
Right. Just like what happened with Afghanistan, like Taliban immediately back under control.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because they don't have the mindset that
Right.
we have. They were like, oh shit, they're coming.
Yeah. And if you looked like at Afghanistan when we pulled out, they told they told them like, hey, no, we need Americans to stay here.
Yeah.
You gotta-
I'm telling
you say,
them to get the
"Hey,
damn dog
Get
away.
the dog.
Yeah.
They said we need y'all to stay here, right? And it's like, okay, now it kind of puts everybody it puts you in a tough place because you're like, okay, we do want to help these people, right? But at the same time, like, we can't stay here forever and then just occupy all these countries for the rest of time. You know what I
Right.
mean? And you can't you can kill people, but you're never gonna end an ideology, right? Like,
Right.
they're always going to be like the Taliban, man. Like, those dudes, if you look back, like in the 70s, they, Russia invaded, right? And the CIA actually here was giving the
Aid.
Taliban, Stinger missiles and stuff, right? Like, keep them out of there, And then as soon as we left, the Taliban all over TV, all over everything. Hey, we did it before, now we did it again. We got them out of there because they can always bring people that ideology will always remain.
Yeah, because
You
the
know what I mean?
education level is so low, and the way to get information out there is being controlled.
Right? So they just, that's them, and it's never going to go away. It's never
Yeah.
going to go away. So it's like, always, I've talked to people about this before. It's like the most we can ever do, and it's kind of like crime, like in policing, you're never going to get rid of it. All you can do is kind of hold it at bay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you just keep that wall there, between the good and the bad, then that's the best you can hope for, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to fix all those issues, but it's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, we it's funny because if you watch when the U.S. started launching those Patriot missiles into Baghdad, you can actually see the building in Baghdad where this battalion of Iraqi army guys lived that we trained and we worked with. And it's crazy, man, because there's these huge buildings. I mean, they're huge, they're massive, and dude, they have like Saddam's like murals of him like set in stone all over these buildings, right? But in 90% of them that I went in, his face is just, they busted the face off the walls. Right?
Yeah,
like
'cause
it's
they
still
hated him.
they hated him, right?
Yeah.
Just like when they pulled that statue down of him with
Yeah.
the freaking.
It was iconic.
Yeah. So, but it's crazy, like how war torn it still was. Like these buildings, like they had no power in them. Like everything was run off generators, and all they had was like the big what kind of lights are the fluorescent lights,
yeah.
right? They just had them like ones that you just grab like for a utility, like you plug into something and you stick them up on the wall, and that's how they powered. And sometimes you'd be walking through this big ass building where the Iraqi army guys are all in, and the power would go out, and you're like this American soldier, and it's just like you and your buddy, walking through there, and it's like all the power's gone out. You're like, fuck,
Somebody's gonna shank me.
yeah. You know what I mean? Blow my ass up, right? So we started training with them. We started, taking them out on patrols, raids, whatever, I mean, and we could go catch some bad dudes, right? I mean, I remember when we went out and we literally like pulled this dude out. We'll let the IA guys do it. They pulled him out of his bed, we took him back to their fob. And, remember the old sun, wind, and dust goggles?
Yeah.
The old ones, like you see like from like Desert Storm and shit.
Yeah.
They take them, they put 100-mile-an-hour tape over them, right?
Right.
So they can't see
Can't
anything.
see anything. Yeah.
And I remember we got back to their fob, and I'm like walking by. We had an MI guy on our team, right? Military intelligence. And I'm like walking by this room, and like they've got two of those guys in there, and I'm like looking in there. No, I'm looking in there, dude, and somebody's got a syringe full of something, dude, 100%. And that MI guy, like he looks at me. He was one of our lieutenants, but he looks at me and he just shuts the door, dude. And I was like, oh fuck, like, what are they about to do? Like, this is some movie shit, you know what I mean? Right? So anyway, it's the craziest thing because these guys had nicer cell phones than we did, right? Yes.
The Iraqi guys?
Yes. I don't know what it was with the technology there at the time, but they were having access to these things. They had like all the video and stuff on their phones, like Blackberries. Remember Blackberries?
Yeah.
But they were like, man, it's like the real shit. Like they love like Britney Spears, Michael Jackson. Like you see that shit in movies, you're like, oh, it's just a movie thing. Like they really were like obsessed with that kind of music.
Really?
And I don't know why. So they'd always come up and be like, hey, check it we'd always, we'd we kind of jacked with the Iraqi army guys, and we were over at their fob. And I remember me and Lou one day we were standing there, and we're like, these IA guys are walking by, and we're like, hey man, where are you from? And they're like, oh, they didn't speak English.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna get a kick out of this. So we kept asking, hey, where are you from, man? They're just like, hey, waving. This one dude walks by, and Lou goes, hey man, where the fuck are you from? And the dude stops and he turns around and he goes, Chicago.
Nah.
And we're like looking at each other like, Chicago? Like, he's like, yeah,
an
man.
interpreter.
No.
No?
He's in the Iraqi army, like fighting in the Iraqi army.
What the fuck?
And we're like, what are you doing here? And he goes, when the war kicked off, he's like, I was a truck driver in Chicago. He's like, I quit over there and I came back to help my family out.
Respect.
Yeah, dude. Like, perfect English. It was the weird. We're like, what is going on?
That would be good insight to have too, because now he's got, you got our mindset, their mindset together.
And it's like, but you're 9,000 miles away from home, and like, there's this dude from Chicago that you run into in the Iraqi army. Dude, craziest thing, man. So, I'm talking about random shit here, man. It's just like thinking about it. It's so weird because as much as you hate it, like when you're there, like you look back and you miss some of it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
You hate it while you're there. You hate it. And, but when you're, I've talked about this before, is like, I wish we knew the good times in the moment.
Yeah.
Because we never notice them. Most of the time. We don't notice the good times in the moment. And I look back at, my 4 years of active duty, and it's just all these still shots of just fucking awesome times. But I remember exactly what I was thinking at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't wait to get out.
Yeah. And I know you're like, I'll never look back. And then you go and join the reserves for the National Guard.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's weird. I don't know why it is that way, but I think most of us miss out. We get out and there's that regret. You know? And one of the things I talked to my dad, as a matter of fact, a big regret of a lot of first responders are the ones that never signed the dotted line.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that.
I hear it a lot because every time you talk, you were in the military, right? Yeah, we're talking to other cops. Yeah, I was in the military. I'm still in, actually. Like, man, I wanted to join, so I wish I would have. I wish I would have joined. And I
always tell them, like, hey, man, how old are you?
Yeah, that's the first thing I do, too. I'm still a recruiter, man. I still try to get people in because I know if you've got the right mindset, like, it's nothing. It is nothing, and it just depends on what you're trying to do, what you're. And
I think you kind of go through that initial, like, you go through that phase, you're like, dude, what did I do? Like, I hate this. And then you get out, like, off active duty, and you're like, well, shit, like, I kind of know what it's like now. Like, it wasn't really that bad.
It wasn't that bad. Yeah, it's perspective.
So, I mean, I'll still think back on those times, and I'm like, dude, like, in life was so much more simple. Like, when you're deployed, life is so simple, I feel like. Even though it's, like, way more dangerous than normal life, like, you don't have the worries. Like, you don't have to, like, you put your shit, like, on auto pay or something, and it's just like, forget it. I forget all the daily struggles I had at home. Like, I'm here and I have this job, and my only job is to stay alive, and, like, and that's it.
And everything is taken care of for you.
I go to the little shop and buy my, bootleg DVDs, four DVDs or 4 movies on one disc, and you open up your little DVD player and you sit there and watch a movie when you're not doing shit. And you're like,
yep.
Yeah. I order a, inflatable airbed, instead of sleeping on a cot.
And you have some of the best conversations you've ever had in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I know, because it's like, sometimes you don't have, and everyone always thinks, like, and that's the thing, like, about war, like, everybody thinks it's always like, go, 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 go. It's always something. But there's, like, an immense amount of downtime sometimes, you know what I mean? And, like, there's times that you don't do shit, and it's like, okay, well, I'll just sit here and I'll talk to my buddy that, I don't know very much about, and I'm going to find out his whole fucking life story. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
we've built this up high enough now that people are going to want to know, like, craziest shit you saw while you were over there. So, what gun battles, whatever it is, what was the hardest shit you faced as far as combat goes, because you're infantry. I don't care what you tell me. I know you faced some combat while you were there. So, while you were there, what's a good victory? I don't like to dwell on the shit stuff. So what's a good victory?
Yeah. We had to, there was this street called Haifa Street. And actually, I looked this up the other day because I just got curious. I didn't know that there had been so many like actual battles on Haifa Street, right? And Haifa Street was not that far from our fob. And Iraqi army had gone out one day, trying to go out and do their own shit. And the thing about Baghdad is not like it's not like what you think about, like, it's not, just desert, right? Baghdad's the city,
It's a
right?
city, yeah.
So Iraqi army went down there and they started getting fucked up, right? Like they went black on ammo, which means, they're out of ammo. And they had a resupply truck coming to drop more ammo off. Resupply truck gets hit. All their ammo is fucking gone, whatever. So now they're just fucking pinned down out there.
With
right?
zero American cover at the time?
Yeah, because they went out by themselves. Because, I mean, that was the job. Like, it was
a test to see if they could handle it.
Yeah, like, and if they really wanted to go do something, they could go do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's your fucking country.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to go out and fucking smash some bad guys,
yeah,
go get them, But going back to also what you were talking about earlier, like, sometimes these guys are not confident without U.S. forces there. You know what I mean? So I remember, dude, we roll out and, we get down there and really there's not shit going on. Like, everybody's kind of, I'm like, we get down there, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, nothing's happening. And I'll be damned, man, if it didn't just, like, all of a sudden just pop off, right? And, I mean, we're talking skyscrapers, like, they've got some tall ass buildings there, and dude, we're surrounded by these buildings. You don't know where the fuck anything is coming from.
I
like,
bet
at
the
all.
sound is just
It's
everywhere because it's bouncing off everything.
And as soon as everybody starts firing, it's like, well, shit. Now I'm like,
Where's the muzzle flash? That's all you got.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember, dude, like, we turned, like, my Humvee was facing like this way, right? And I get out and I start facing this way, and we're taking fire from over here, right? So we start returning fire, and this is probably, like, that I know of, probably like the closest I ever came to getting fucking smoked. Like, I watched a green tracer round hit the ground, like, I don't know, 3 feet from me, and I watched it, like, came in at this angle, dude. It was like slow motion, right? And I could see it just go bing, and you can hear like the snaps and hisses and pops and shit, and you're like, fuck. Right. So, and I remember I turned around and one of our interpreters, we had these big push bumpers on our Humvees, right? And it was like a cartoon or something, and I could see him, and he's got just he has no camo cover on his helmet. It's just the green, like OD green Kevlar.
Yeah.
And I look over and he's like this, like, the little cartoon where the guy's like looking up over the top and his kind of nose is sticking out. That's what it looked like. And he's like peeking over the top, dude, just like wide eyed, just like freaking out. And I was like, I think it was,
get the fuck down.
I can't remember his name anymore, dude. But anyway, I mean, we're just like, I'm like, my gunner's up at the top. He's like, Brazeal, he's like, give me ammo. It's just like, we're just getting into. I remember my first time fucking shot one of our antennas. He was shooting his M4 like on the edge of the Humvee, dude, and he just goes bling. You could see it, and we got back and we're like, what the fuck?
We got no comms, bro.
Hey, come on, first sergeant. You know, like, Scott Garr, good dude, man. He's from Texas too. But we had Apaches, CAS, close air support, but by then it was 06, because we went at the end of 05. We were in 06. The rules of engagement had changed so much they were worried about collateral damage. Like, we had these Apaches like flying over spotting for us, right? And we're taking all this fire, but the Apaches could not shoot. They're like flying, and like you're watching them, and that they know, like, hey, this is where I'll throw this hellfire right now. Couldn't do it, right? So we actually make it through. I think a few of the IA guys got hit, right? None of us, we were fine. And dude, if they didn't bring like some of the guys that have been shooting at us, they got a hold of them, man. And dude, they're like, it's not like here, like, hey, we're gonna throw you in handcuffs and we're gonna take you to jail and dust you off and you're okay. Man, this motherfucker carries like blackjacks, right? They were like throwing these dudes in the back of their trucks, like their little Toyotas and shit. And you're watching them, and they're just fucking smacking these guys, these blackjacks, like in the face and the head. I mean, and they're big. If you ever watch this video, they're big on slapping, right? Like they'll slap the shit out of you, dude.
Damn.
So like they would put these guys like in the truck, man, and then they just fucking drive off, and you're like, they're not leaving anywhere.
They're not getting any of those constitutional rights. That's for sure.
No.
Shit.
So, when you asked me about how much I trusted them, we were supposed to roll out the gates one morning on a patrol at 10 a.m., right, sharp. And we were running late. And, we were at the Iraqi base. And everybody's standing outside in front of the building. You're putting your body armor on, like getting all your shit, doing, your weapons checks, all that stuff. Well, I think we're just barely a few minutes late. I mean, we're not 5-8 minutes,
Typical
something like that.
Army protocol. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, hey man, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it'll save your life.
Yeah.
So at 10 a.m., dude, we're supposed to roll out that gate, dude. At 10 a.m., a fucking VBID goes off.
Oh shit!
Right, vehicle-borne IED. Yep. Right, so it's like, hey, let's pump this car full of 155 millimeter mortar rounds or artillery rounds, because you can fit so much more explosives. You can conceal them right in the trunk or whatever.
Yeah.
VBID goes off right outside the gate, dude. If our MI guy was like, motherfuckers, like all y'all, like let's take all their phones. Like they started taking everybody's phones. And that's going back to what I was saying about, like, if you want to join the Iraqi army, hey man, just say I want to join the Iraqi army. Here's your AK and there's
a Taliban member right there.
Yeah, dude. So it's like these motherfuckers are notorious too, man. I had to keep cussing, but I know, dude. Podcast? Yeah, I know. I just okay. What if my parents listen to it or something?
Oh, jeez.
Anyway,
they know how you were as a kid.
Yeah, I know. And it's ingrained, like military policing, like everybody cusses, you know what I mean? So anyway, these dudes would always, you're talking about trusting them again, these dudes would always, they'd throw their AK over their shoulder, right? Like this, and they got their barrel facing backwards, and they walk around with them on fire all day.
Oh God.
On fire. I mean, just like you'd be like, hey man, like in Muzien's like it's no good, right? In Arabic, Muzien. And they go, no, Zen's good, right? Zen's good. Like, no, dude. Like, and you're like having to take and like push the selector switch up, like put that shit on safe, dude.
Keep your finger off the goddamn trigger.
They don't care, man.
Yeah.
Like it's the weirdest thing, and they just think like, oh, it's fine, like I'm good, right? So anyway, I'll end the Iraq thing, but I have to talk about this bread. Have you ever had Samoon?
Yes, I have.
So good.
Yes.
Is it not?
It is.
I remember I handed this kid, we were on a patrol one day, and I handed this kid $1. I said, hey, man, give me some moon. He comes back with an entire bag of it. It's kind of shaped in like diamond shape, right? He comes back with an entire bag of it and then hands me dinar because I had change. And I was like, hey, buddy, you keep that. Yeah, I was like, you keep that shit, man. Yeah. Dude, that's the best bread I've ever had, man.
I got deployment pay, bitch.
Yeah, what's up, buddy? I'll just go get an advance next week. Right. No, but dude, if like anybody listening, if they ever have the chance to try that bread or make it, I know they have a recipe for it. Like, it's so good. It reminds me of that Indian fry bread that you made in school when you were a little kid. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of that.
So if you ever get a chance, if you ever go to Michigan, there is it's basically a Middle Eastern city, Dearborn.
Okay.
Highest population of Muslims in the U.S., I think.
But I've heard about that, actually.
The food is amazing. People, I've been to Dearborn several times. They are nothing but so nice, so gracious, accommodating. Like,
I know, right?
Yes.
Isn't that so cool? I love doing that. Like, I love stuff like that.
Yeah, and there was rumors that they have Sharia law and all that stuff going on. That's not fucking true. If it was an isolated incident. And I don't even know that that's true. I'm just saying it's not what people were trying to portray it to be. Dearborn is the food. Oh my God. Because it's not just, Iraqi food, Pakistani, it's everything. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that all the Middle Eastern people decided to choose Dearborn, but that's where they've grown a community. Yeah. And it's one of the coolest places to go. Like for me, I'm a foodie. I love food. So
me too, man. I love trying new stuff.
Yes. And so you give people a chance to really go at it and make some good food. Mm-hmm. Shit. Go to Dearborn, try their shit.
Let me ask you this. It's wild. I would think about when we'd be out on patrols, man. Like, it was nothing like in Iraq, like on the streets, dude. They just fucking slaughter goats right there. And they like the heads, they put the heads in freaking grocery bags and they'd hang the carcass up on a damn telephone pole. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it was nothing. That's just butcher them all right there.
I don't know why I keep doing that. It's driving me insane.
But, you know, goat's like very popular. You know what I mean?
I like
And I don't
goat.
think I've ever even eaten goat.
Have you never had birria tacos?
Mm-mm.
Oh, like real birria tacos, like in Texas here. That's made from goat.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that.
It's that's the dipping tacos. It's like a French dip, but for tacos.
Really?
Oh my God, you've never had it?
Dude, no. No.
Dude,
I've never even heard of that.
my inner fat
until just
boy
now.
is screaming right now because it's one of my favorite things.
I don't know that I've had too many bad tacos, man.
All right, there is a spot in Arlington called 225 degrees. It's
Mhm.
basically what it's called, barbecue. It's right next to a brewery. I can't remember the name of the brewery, but it's awesome that they're right next to each other
Yeah.
because it's a taco truck.
Okay.
Like barbecue and tacos.
Yeah.
But they have the dipping tacos, and it's made from goat,
Really?
and they are amazing.
Dude, I've never heard of that.
Dude, it's a soft, like, beef style meat, and it's so good. Yeah,
You're going to have to take me there.
I will, because
All right.
I'm telling you, I'm a food junkie.
Yeah, man. I'm always like, you know, we love to go on like cruises and stuff. I love cruises, right?
Yeah. I
you
get
know.
irritated with cruises, though.
Why?
Okay, here's my thing. I don't like being on the boat. I don't like being around. I feel encapsulated with a lot of people.
Yeah, some
who's
people
very,
say that. Yeah.
who's very self motivated. I'll
But
put
it's-
it that way.
They're huge. It's like a floating city.
True, but then the food is very rarely is the food itself to the area that you're in. Like, let's say you're cruising the Caribbean.
Oh, well, no.
They're not making, Jamaican food. They're not making
They will.
Virgin Island food. You know what I mean?
Which cruise lines have you been on?
I went on a Disney cruise and I went on Royal Caribbean.
I've only been on Carnival.
And I don't know that we did Carnival.
I've been on 9 Carnival cruises, and literally every stop that you make at dinner that night, they will have a selection from wherever you just visited.
So this goes to my point. I'd rather just visit an island, which is what we do.
Mhm.
Like, we're going to Dominican this time. We've been. I mean, you start naming every Caribbean island, there's a good chance we've been there.
That's how I am, but it's just been through cruises.
But that's my problem. When I get on a cruise, my favorite part of the cruise is the stop,
Mhm.
and then
Not there long enough.
I feel rushed.
Yeah.
And just as I start to get into it and get comfortable, I'm like, oh, we got to get back to the boat. Like, I get stressed out because I don't want to miss moving.
You ever watch the videos of people trying to? They're like hauling
Running,
ass, like
trying to-
sprinting, and everyone's cheering for them, like, clapping them on.
Yeah. So,
Well, see, so in the way I am is, I'm in a way opposite, but I know exactly what you're saying because I feel like you never have enough time there. But I guess my thing is, like, if we go, like, we always go on a minimum of like a 7-day cruise,
Yeah.
right? And it'll be 3 stops. If you do 8 days, sometimes 4, right?
right.
But I guess my thing is, like, I'm not stuck in one place the entire time. Like, people are like, oh, just go to an all-inclusive. I'm like, okay, but now I'm stuck in that one resort, and you can only do so much there. Like, I love going and seeing different countries in the Caribbean.
And
You know what I
like, our favorite so far has been Antigua. Oh, my voice got really weird there all of a sudden. Test. Okay,
Your
sorry.
balls are dropping.
Yeah, that was weird. Like, it started to digitize. It sounded like in my headphones. I don't know.
It's
what to do.
puberty, dude.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I never went through it.
That's a glued-on beard.
Yeah. Shit. Antigua's been our favorite.
See, I haven't been there.
Yeah, absolute favorite. We stayed at Galley Bay. It was amazing. But the thing that I love the most is it's a very historic island.
Mhm.
And so we didn't spend a ton of time on the resort.
Yeah, you go out and
We
Mhm.
went and just did all the excursions.
That's how I am. I'm an adventurer. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we went. I mean, we'll walk downtown with the areas are like, well, you shouldn't go without, and I'm like, oh,
It's
screw that.
okay. Yeah.
I'm okay.
Mexico's kind of the one place that we go.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah, I mean, I don't go to Mexico.
I'm gonna hang out, like around
I'm good.
the safer area.
Yeah. I'm good. I don't do Mexico. Not at all.
So-
I won't do Jamaica either.
Dude, Jamaica's not bad.
No, I don't trust.
I've been there several times, and I've got a pretty good buddy now. I'm actually, I made it good enough friends with them that like they put me in their like they have a really nice travel business there. You know, like I get to like approve members and all that stuff on their Facebook page. But
Okay.
anyway, I always felt the same way about Jamaica. Always felt that same way. You know, that's because as soon as they drop you off in those little tourist areas, it's like, hey man, you want to buy some weed? Oh, you want to do this?
Right.
You know, like, oh, let me steal your shit, whatever, right? His name is Devar, but we hired him one time because I always will book my excursions I go through TripAdvisor, right? Because if you go through like, and a lot of people don't know this, but if you go through the Carnival or the cruise line, someone told us one time, they said they keep the majority of that money. We take you on the tour, but they get the biggest cut of it, and we only get a small portion, right?
We always go through the company that owns it. So like the resort we stayed at in Antigua, we went through the Galley Bay.
Mm-hmm.
We went through them. We didn't use anybody.
Right.
And that was the best price we found.
So I know, I guess what I'm getting at is not the price, but it's like, I'm always looking to support like the local.
Right. And that's what I'm saying is that money goes to that.
Well, I guess maybe because it's there, right?
That's their
But it's
resort.
like you worry like, well, is it going to the company? You know,
Right.
or are they giving it back to the community?
And so when we did our excursions, all of our excursions were through the resort's recommendations. Versus,
okay.
yes.
I get what you're saying.
So like Captain Sean, that was like a big, that was like really cool. This guy literally pulls his damn catamaran like off the island. And
dude, aren't you so jealous of those guys?
And takes a dinghy up to us and is like, hey, I'm Captain Sean. The resort lets me come on and pitch to y'all. And I'm like, I don't buy that.
Yeah, you're gonna try to braid my hair.
So he gives me a shit, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I go up to my liaison for the thing, and I was like, hey, Captain Sean came up to us, and he's like, oh, Captain Sean's the best. He's like me and my wife, and he's showing me pictures of him out with Captain Sean.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. That works for me. And so, we went out with Captain Sean, and it was great.
Have you been to Aruba?
That's the next one.
Dude.
That's the next one. Because we have been going south.
Uh-huh.
Like we started
that's
high.
Deep south.
Yeah, we started high. Aruba's basically the last stop before you hit Venezuela and all that. So
it's very close. They bring, Curacao is close to Aruba. Like people will come over on the fishing or like their boats, like to bring produce and stuff to Curacao from Venezuela.
Yeah.
Right. It's so close.
Yeah. So and Antigua, I think maybe it was Barbados. Because we went to Barbados as well.
Yeah, because they're real close.
Yeah, saw Rihanna's house.
Okay.
And we went to Barbados, and basically the next stop for us is going to be Aruba. With the reason we're doing Dominic this time is because we put out all the time on Facebook like, hey, we'd like some friends to go or family to go.
Yeah.
Let us know.
That's how we are too. It's like, man, it's like it's better if you have like a group of people.
But nobody ever takes us up.
I know.
Well, this year, not just one couple, but 2 couples, 3 couples decided they're going to go with us.
From work?
No.
Just people
people we know.
Yeah.
So some family back from Michigan. Actually, they're all Michigan family and friends. So, and they're all going to go to Dominic with us.
I want to tell you, man. Okay, so probably like one of the most like best moments I've ever had. So when you go to Aruba, and this is just my recommendation. Aruba's only 7 miles long, right?
Real? I didn't even know it was that small.
7 miles long. And whenever you get out of like the city part, like everything turns into like this kind of like, it looks kind of like Mars, like the red dirt stuff, right? And it's like this red rock, red dirt, but we rented side by sides, and you can't drive them out onto the beach itself. You park them, and then there's the white sand, and then the beach gets kind of rocky, and then it's the water, right? We went down, and I wish I knew the orientation of the island because I tell you exactly where to go. It's close to where the lighthouse is, right? But you can literally like park your side by side, and you can walk out into the ocean, and you cannot hear shit except the water. Like there's no sounds of
really
no cars, no like nothing.
It's like which one you want.
I'm gonna try this again.
Yeah, bitch.
I like this stuff, man.
I know it's so good.
It's so good. So I walked out into the water, man, and it's like the most peaceful thing I've ever heard in my life. Like you cannot recreate that sound.
Yeah.
You can't. It's so quiet, and it's like dead quiet, and you hear the water, and you're like, this is amazing.
So I have one requirement Actually, I should say 2. I have 2 requirements when we go on vacation now. And this is going to make me sound so bougie, but I don't give a shit because I work my ass off all year long for the one vacation, right? That happens like every 1 or 2 years.
I know.
So
If you can take vacation,
yeah, if I can
approve it.
Yeah, if I can take that type of vacation. So, I have to be able to see the water from my bed.
Yeah.
That's 1. And it has to be snorkeling water.
Dude, I love snorkeling.
I
love snorkeling.
I would have never known that it is because the woods is my zen.
Mhm.
The fishing on a kayak in the water is my zen. Those are my 2 zen moments. When I'm in the woods hunting or when I'm on the water fishing, that is the calmest I ever feel.
Yeah.
Well, I decided at one point on a vacation, I'm going to try snorkeling. And I hate the water. I hate swimming. I
Really?
love watching.
As long as I got fins on, I'm good.
Yeah, I love watching documentaries and I grew up watching, the Science Channel, Discovery, all of those things. I loved underwater stuff. Always have. But I have a fear of the water. Probably because of the shows. Seeing what
I think a shark's always going to get you, right?
Something's going to get me. And
it's the fear of not being able to see what's down there.
See what's down there, exactly. And in the shore, I need the shore's got to be visible. So anyway, I decided to try snorkeling. I was like, let me try this, and I get hooked up. The vacation we had went on, it was a cruise, and we get off, and the guy's like, you should try it. And I'm like, I'm just scared of the water. And he's like, just stay with me. And that was the type of guy he was.
They're good, dude.
He kept me with him. I trusted him. He kept me calm.
They're born into that stuff.
Yeah, and he just guided me through it. And I'm sitting there, and he's like, do this, do that, and I, we're in water that it's a little too much for me to touch. Like if I got panicked or whatever.
But you can see the bottom.
But I can see the bottom, and he kind of eased me into it.
Were you wearing fins?
Yes, I had fins on.
Dude, fins make it so much easier. I'm not a strong swimmer, but dude, fins make it 10 times easier.
So, and I'm fine either way. The fins or no fins. I actually cramp up a lot when I get fins on.
From the feet, yeah.
Yeah.
Those Charlie horses.
Yeah, it gets us Charlies. But I've learned to control that. It was more my technique than anything. Mm-hmm. So
you got to kick more with the leg and not your foot.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So I get down there and I finally stop worrying about everything, and he's pointing at stuff and he's showing me like I'm like seeing a lobster like hiding, and I'm seeing an eel peeking out, and I'm taking what I loved watching on TV and I'm living it. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And there's something calming about doing it. And I fell in love with it. And so then my wife, who's the vacation queen, like not to go on vacation, but knows how to find the best of the best.
Yeah, that's how I am. I plan everything like so far in advance.
And I don't have to plan anything. She knows my 2 requirements. And as long as those 2 are there, everything else is bonus.
Right. Yeah.
Because she's got all the stuff she wants to do. If the kids go, she knows exactly what she wants to put the kids through. I'm on board. She knows as long as she takes care of those 2 things for me, I am so fun to vacation with.
Yeah, right.
Because that's all.
Worry free, right?
Yeah. So when we went to Barbados, miserable. I loved it in a way, but where we were at, we got kind of bamboozled a little bit. The water was too rough.
That happens.
It was a little bit of snorkely water, but
it was like later in the year.
Or
no?
Yeah. But it was just too rough, and it's always that way.
Yeah.
Okay. It was one of those things that
Grand Cayman will happen. It'll happen there too. They'll be like, it's too rough to do this.
Had we went 5 minutes around the corner, always calm, sea turtles everywhere.
Yeah.
Because we ended up snorkeling over there off of a catamaran, and I'm like, how close are we to our resort? And I tell him the name of the resort. He's like, it's right around the corner. And I was like, damn it, this hotel right here. Like, we could have been at this hotel, and I could have been doing this, swimming with sea turtles every day.
See, I haven't got to swim with the turtles yet.
Oh, it's so
you
fun.
Swim with the stingrays?
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
Cool, dude.
Yeah.
Put them on the back of your head, or like let you give
yeah.
them a kiss, dude. I watched a guy in, I think, Grand Turk. He kissed the freaking barb, dude, on the stingray. Yeah. I mean, like, not a tourist, but like one of the dudes.
Okay, yeah. He knows what he's doing.
Man, they'll go up there and, have you ever, conch, right?
Yeah,
like,
conch shells, yeah.
Have you had conch salad?
Yeah, yes.
So good,
so good.
and you can't get it hardly anywhere. Like, there's only a few islands that are like, yeah, we can make fresh conch salad, right?
I had conch tacos.
Dude, it's so good, man.
That's a good meat.
God, it's delicious, right?
Yeah, you're right. God, we sound so bougie.
I know, right?
Dude, but people, it's not expensive. I promise you. We're not rich.
It's so much cheaper, and it's cheaper in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, yes. So
when we did our cruises, I think we spent like $700 a person.
really,
Yeah, not
Yeah.
Disney. Disney was
yeah,
ridiculous.
that's what I hear.
Yeah. I was a bougie person with that one. Yeah. So
But I heard
guy-
they're great about
dude,
taking care of the parents on those cruises.
a guy bought me a pour of King Louis the 13th.
Oh, that's a cognac.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the bottle itself is like 14 grand. This one. Yeah. I'm walking by.
We're like, hey man, like, can I get one more?
Well, I didn't know. So I go up to the bar.
Okay.
I'm like, and I tell him actually at the time I think I was asking for Eagle Rare.
Good bourbon.
Yeah, and I was like, can I get a pour of Eagle Rare on the rocks? And I knew I was gonna have to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was pretty much free, but that one wasn't. So he's getting ready to get it, and the guy, there's nobody, and it's a gigantic bar. I mean, it's one of those like the show off bar on the main lobby.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's at it. People are
Yeah.
walking by all over the place, so it's really busy around that. It's probably why nobody hangs out at it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I know what you're talking about. It's like that's the atrium bar.
yes,
Like when you board, it's
Yes.
right there when you walk on.
Yes, exactly. So I'm I'm trying. It was close, so I went to that one. And this guy, I see the bottle. It was gorgeous. The bottle itself sells for like $800 empty. It's made out of like some weird crystal. I don't know. And I never heard of King Louis. And so
The crystal skull, dude.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. So the guy's sitting there, and he's like, "Hey, my friend," and he's from a different country, like almost like Spain,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
I could be way off on that, but it wasn't normal. It wasn't something that I'd ever heard.
Germany.
Definitely not German. I would have been able to pick up German right away. So he's sitting there, and he's like, he's got the bottle, and there wasn't a whole lot left, but he's like, you want some? And I was like, sure. What do we have? And he's like, it's cognac. And I was like, okay, I like cognac. I was like, bring it on. It's a sweet liquor to me. And I was like, yeah, fuck it.
It's made out of grapes, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it is. It's
Is it?
grapes grown in the Cognac region of France.
Okay. So yeah.
Pretty
so-
sure. I
so-
could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So he hooks it up. Yeah, I get a little 2-ounce pour. I mean, very carefully measured by the bartender.
He's like, you're not getting that much. Yeah.
And
No extra.
And we cheers, and he's like, don't shoot it. I was like, okay, I'll stop. Shit. Fuck. I popped the seat right next to him. I was like, let's go.
Mhm.
Police work, man. Like, to me, I love people. I
Yeah.
like talking to people.
Yes. So, yeah, me too.
I'm on vacation. It's funny because it's kind of a contradictory. I don't like being on a cruise ship because there's so many people. I don't like being trapped in a way.
But you get a big melding of people.
Yes,
Also,
but
you know what
I
mean?
love
Yeah.
talking to people from other places and all that stuff. So I see he's not from the States, and I'm talking. So it was a cool experience. And we
Have you had it since then?
No, hell no. Well, we cheers, and we drink it and everything, and we're done. I'm like, thanks for the drink, sir. I appreciate it. And I'm getting, I get my Eagle Rare to go, now that I've had that. And I was like, give him one.
He's like, poor guy.
And so I walk and I go to where my wife and we were sitting down, and one of the girls that we're made friends with was like, I want one of those Miami Vices. I was like, I'll go get it. They were talking. So I was like, I'll go get it and get my wife another drink. And I'm talking to the bartender, not that bartender, different bartender. It's like, yeah, man, this guy's nicest guy ever, gave me this drink. Tell him what it was. He's like, you know how much that costs, right? I was like,
Oh, $40.
I was like, for what? I was like, for cognac? Because to me, I'm like, it ain't bourbon. Bourbon's expensive.
Yeah.
It's not tequila. Tequila can be expensive.
Mm.
Never heard of an expensive cognac. And so he's like, it's probably $1,300 a pour.
Shit.
I'm like, are you shit? And he gave out 2 more to other people while I was sitting there.
They had his credit card on file. He's like a brand new credit card. He's like, I'm not paying for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome,
Unreal.
though, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He finished He finished that bottle.
Was it worth
No.
when you drank?
No.
Okay.
It was good. I mean, best I've ever had.
So
Cognac.
have you ever had Pappy? Everybody talks about
No.
Pappy, right?
I've heard that like the Pappy we think we get even is still not even the real Pappy.
So I did have a real pour of Pappy in New Mexico. Not the last time we were there, but the time before that. $40 for a 1 ounce pour. And I said, I can afford $40, but I can't ever afford a bottle.
Right.
Right. And I had it and I was very underwhelmed. Like I was like,
I'm that way
"It's
with
not that good."
Blanton's. I'm that way
Yeah.
with Blanton's.
So Blanton's is like, it's like a mediocre, you know,
Yep.
it's okay. It's not bad, you know.
I'd rather drink TX, not the bourbon.
I collected all my Blanton's letters.
Oh, did you
I
get
have-
them all?
Yeah, I've got them all now.
Yeah.
You know, this is like, you know, Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
grown-ups. But I collected all of them, and it's like, you know, after that, I've still got 2 bottles sitting on the shelf. You know, one's a store pick, and it's okay. You know,
Yeah.
now there's a local store out in Weatherford that'll charge you $280 for it, and it's a $56 bottle because people that are very new to bourbon don't know
Any better? Yeah.
Right.
It's
You
part of
know
the
what I
problem
mean?
with the bourbon community.
Mm-hmm.
Drives me insane.
Oh yeah, but people sell
Yeah.
it all day. You know,
Yep.
supply and demand. Right.
That's why I like getting this bottle at Specs. I spend $78.
That's good, man.
That's fair. Like that's a fair for their best bottle.
Yeah.
That's fair. You keep me under $100, I'm a happy man.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite.
Yeah, it's good.
So I don't care. It's my favorite. Eagle Rare was my number 1. This is my number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes for almost the whole family. So the younger is probably their second best.
I gotta piss.
Okay.
You just want me to go right here?
Yeah, just go. Not in my
Just
room,
kidding.
please.
In my pants?
Yeah, just go with your little baby bladder.
I drank a Red Bull before we got here, so.
All right, you're good. Let me just write the time.